You damn right. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. We arrive at hump day without a catch. There's no catch on today's show. That catch, not the other catches. There's plenty of those. Jeff Ketchum, not a part of the show today. He needs a day off. It is well deserved. This is House Divided right here on Orange Bloods Live. Our man Blake, the super producer, is here. And most importantly, you are here. The Specs chat line. It's a big day on the Specs chat line for a lot of reasons. We'll get into that in just a second. First and foremost, I am Chad Hastings. Good to see you. Hope you are glad to see me. We thank everybody for being a part of it. Thanks to over 17,000 subscribers. We're working towards 18,000 really quickly, I'm sure. Like it. Get the notifications. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies about Orange Bloods Live. Texas and Kansas coming up. Longhorns getting ready for their two toughest games, Kansas, and then, of course, the big one with Oklahoma. So welcome everybody into the Specs chat. Before we get into what we're going to talk about today, I do want to send out some good wishes, some best thoughts to the Ketchum family, to Jeff, and apparently to one of the dogs. Because yesterday, Jeff saying he was taking a day off. You know, everybody's entitled to a day off. Ketch has been busting his ass, putting Orange Bloods Live together. I'm certainly glad he did that. We've had a great time doing the show. But then in our group chat Slack thing, this technology that I'm trying to learn as an old man, all of a sudden this stuff started coming in. And I saw one message by itself, and I didn't see anything else. I saw there was a lot of blood. It was a murder scene. And I thought, whoa, what? What happened? Go back and read. One of Ketch's dogs got injured yesterday and needed surgery. So we certainly send our best out to the dog. Ketch and I are both big dog guys. I've never met this dog. I met the last wave of Ketchum dogs. I was back in the Brady Houdini era when it comes to the Weimaraners. The Ketchums have a relationship with the Weimaraner. So, but the other Weimaraners, I believe, have gone to Gray Ghost Heaven. This one needed some surgery, but as I'm told, she is fine now. We send the best to the dog and the family, and we've all dealt with those. We've all dealt with crazy emergencies involving the dogs and family members and stuff. So we wish nothing but the best to the Ketchums. Hopefully Ketch gets a great day of rest. So when we look at today's show, it is the Specs chat. Shout out to Specs. Again, they've been there since 1962, rocking it with the wine, spirits, and finer foods. We'll tell you more about them as we go along. Here's what today means, though. The Specs, this is the first time since we started doing the show, we've almost been going 2 months, where Ketch is not here, and I am, and you are as well. So the Specs chat line is open to you. Do you have feelings that you need to express that you feel like can't be properly expressed? With the big man here, with boss man here, with the owner of Orange Bloods looking over your shoulder? Have you felt uncomfortable and you just need to get something off your chest? Go right ahead. Is there a secret that you think I have about Jeff Ketchum and Orange Bloods that you think I would reveal today? Ask that. We certainly welcome all the super chats today. If you just got some money that is burning a hole and you got to get it out of your pocket, put it in the tip jar, send a super chat. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff today. Let me start with this. You know what? Let's start with some caring on the Specs chat. Sorry about your boy Wegman, Chad. That's from Paul. And we'll definitely get a little bit into that one today. Get you some more details on that in the crap bag. But yes, it does look like Connor Wegman is out the rest of the year for A&M. We'll have to see what they look like without him playing. That means Max Johnson steps in. So I like that. A little bit of caring right at the beginning. But you know, I'm here for you, Longhorn fans. We had some people on the chat the other day, kind of on the Aggie side, and they were complaining a bit. They're like, man, it feels like this show's like 90-10 Longhorn talk. Remember, it's called House Divided. It's not called House Divided evenly. We have to figure out exactly how much to talk about each thing. There's a little bit of Aggie talk. We're called House Divided mainly because Ketch covers the Longhorns and has for years and years, and I'm an Aggie. But don't worry. For those of you thinking, oh, God, the Aggie's on, it's going to be nothing but a 3-hour yell practice. It's not. That's not what it's going to be. We'll definitely have some stuff for you Longhorn fans to dig into, like right here at the beginning of the show, because the title of today's show is about dreaming out loud and dreaming big. This week in Ketch's 10 Thoughts from the Weekend, he talked about dreaming bigger than he thought. He was with me and a lot of others that had a 9-3 prediction at the beginning of the year. For those of us that had that prediction, one of those losses most likely was Bama. So now maybe you adjust that to 10-2 on a possibility. But I want to know from you today, Longhorn fans, how big are you dreaming? Give me the fill in the blank. Realistically, they could blank. You don't even need to write, don't type realistically. That's a long word. But I know you can be realistic. Give me a they could blank. Where are you right now? Is it just they could go to Jerry World? Is it they could get to the playoff? Is it they could get to the championship game? How high are you thinking right now going into Kansas and Oklahoma? For me, third-party observer, cover them for the job, I would say they could get into the playoff. That's my realistic look at this team right now, because that would mean it's one loss or none, because you can't lose two and get in. We know that. But right now, based on what we see and what the schedule is in front of them, I realistically would say that could happen. Will it happen? Obviously, we're going to see. But let me know where you are. The chats are already rolling in. Roger says right now it's 11-1. In 2 weeks, ask again. It will be different one way or the other. Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Buck Wild Longhorn. With our schedule, CFP is realistic. That's another huge part of it. Your schedule, the way it was, is one thing. Your schedule right now, and looking at the way those teams have played, that's a whole nother discussion. How about this one? Darwin, national championship game against Alabama. I don't know if Alabama fans would agree with you on that right now. They've really got some corners to turn. They did look impressive by the end of that Ole Miss game, but there was some ugly in that Ole Miss game too. If you watch that first half and were convinced you were watching a playoff team either way, I would disagree with you. That was an ugly mess to start that game. So this says, with the quarterback situation at Georgia, anything is possible. Okay, all right. Taking a look at the other teams and what they're doing. Fair enough. Another chat rolling in. Harris says 11-1. That's one of those marks. I took a look at past playoffs. The Big 12 has had 5 teams get in the playoff. All of them did have one loss. Nobody's ever been an undefeated Big 12 champion that made the playoff. There have been other undefeateds, obviously, but not in the Big 12. And by the way, we're going to get into some playoff talk a little bit later. Here's an interesting matchup. Let's go back to this one. ATX Big Rich says Natty against USC. Oh, let's think about that one. Oh, and wait a minute. If I'm not mistaken, that would be a return affair. It would be like a home and home in a way, wouldn't it? Because when you played USC that first historic time, you were kind of in their neck of the woods at the Rose Bowl. I think the championship game is in Houston, if I'm not mistaken, in Vince's hometown this year. That'd be a wild matchup, Texas and USC, but do it in Texas this time. If I saw it correct today, our semifinals this year are Sugar and Rose. So geographically, Longhorn fans would want Sugar Bowl, but you got to be the number 1 seed to get that pick. Whoever's number 1, if it's Georgia, guess where they're going? They're going to the Sugar Bowl to play whoever's number 4. So those are your 2 bowls, which lead to Houston, but that's an interesting idea. I like that. Somebody says I am right on Houston. All right, how about this one? This is the other side of it. Text guy 2. Well, they could repeat at the Alamo Bowl, but in Houston versus Washington. Repeat of Alamo. Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, all right. So repeat of the Alamo Bowl, but do it in the championship game against Michael Penix and Washington. I will say that right now it does feel like if somebody works through this Pac-12, just a quick side comment. If somebody works through this Pac-12 and gets to the championship game, forget that. The playoff. You work through and get to the playoff. That's going to be a pretty badass football team, isn't it? Wow. Just some of the matchups. And I charted it out early in the week. I'll just pick a team every once in a while and remind myself and all of y'all. Washington hosts Oregon at USC, plays Utah at home. And that doesn't even count Washington State and Oregon State. That's going to be a nasty conference. We'll see if anybody can survive it. All right, here's a chat. This is what we want. We want real feelings. Hunter, thank you. I'm terrified about how I feel about this Texas team. It's been too long since I've allowed myself to be positive. This is what we need to work through today. This is what I'm talking about. How big you want to dream. Realistically, they could blank. It's a scary thought sometimes because all of you as Texas fans, you go through something that I can relate to as a pro fan because I'm a Cowboys guy. But I can't relate to it as an Aggie fan. It's different. Aggies may not want to admit it, but I'm one of the ones that will. It's different. The level of expectation is very, very different. The branding is just different. But if you're a Cowboy and Longhorn fan, God love you. God love you double circus tent people. Because all you do is live with expectation. It's all you do. All you do is live with 4 national titles over here and Heisman Trophy running backs and brand names and upside down Longhorns. And over here, it's 5 rings and you feel like you deserve 10 more because it's just the way it is. And you're the Cowboys and Jerry's ruining the whole. I mean, it's so much that you have to deal with. That's the kind of thing that I bet a lot of you go through, what Hunter's dealing with. You're almost scared at how you feel because admit it to yourself. Tell me if I'm wrong, because this is my Cowboy opinion. Tell me if it happens as a Longhorn fan. And I'll get Blake's thoughts too, super producer, because Blake's a Longhorn guy. Went to Texas State, but roots for the Longhorns. Mm-hmm. Blake, correct me if I'm wrong, because when I'm a Cowboys fan watching the game, I take every little ingredient of good news and I make it way too good. And then I take every little morsel of bad and I make it dog shit bad. Is that what you do when you watch a Texas game?
Oh man, that's what I did for a long time, but it reacting to games like that really grinds on you. So there became a time, I don't know, right, maybe after the Charlie Strong era where I became a lot more even keel. It's just like, all right, I'm going to set expectations down in the basement. And if we get out of the basement, that's a great day.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. That's the healthy way to do it is set your expectations, by the way, on the chat, Corey, because the Aggies have never been. All right. There you go. I have never seen an A&M team actually get to play for a national title. You're absolutely, hey, look at there. How about that? Well, yeah, yell Leader Brothers. Little high five. I don't know if that was the new bridge or the old bridge. Man, that new bridge is awesome at Aggie Park. Woo! Y'all are going to love that. Texas fans, wait till you get there in 2024, man. Aggie Park is unbelievable.
You may or may not see that every time the Aggies are brought up today.
Okay, fair enough. And by the way, like everybody has heard about, and you saw one of the early shows, my dad, Doc Hastings, and he may be actually checking in today. By the way, Doc Hastings did send me a text about the nerdy triangle comment yesterday from Jeff Ketchum. It was an obtuse or a cute triangle reference. My dad commented on a text and then threw in the word scalene. So it got really, really nerdy. But my dad's one of those fans that never sets the expectation too high. Ever. Never. I can't ever remember my dad going, you know what, Chad? I think 10 wins is really possible. I really think. Even years with Johnny, years with wrecking crew type defenses, he's always the guy that goes, you know what? If we can make a bowl, I think like he's really that guy.
We can make a bowl.
Make a bowl and maybe one more. 7 wins. Like 7. He'll stare right at Abilene Christian and Western Carolina and whoever else they've scheduled in horrible non-conference, and he'll still say 7 or 8 makes sense. So I get it. It's a weird thing. And thank you for all these chats rolling in. Doug says, good afternoon, Orange Bloods live peeps. Yes, good afternoon to everybody. Up on 165 or so in the Specs chat. Thanks to all of you who are jumping in. Again, Ketch is taking the day off today, but I got you today. And Ketch made sure we had Orange Bloods guests on so that I was forced to talk Texas stuff because he's probably a little afraid that it could turn into a yell practice. 120, Anoir Richardson of Orange Bloods to talk Texas and some other stuff. I want to get his thoughts on college football and a couple things. Also, at 2:20 today, Jason Suchel of Orange Bloods to talk Texas, but also I need some help from Jason Suchel because he's a Steelers guy, just like my wife is. And I've agreed to do something this weekend that it's going to be one of those things. It's like, once I actually get into this, I'm going to wonder maybe what I agreed to, but I'm walking through it slowly. I've got the Pitt shirt on today. And then later I got something right over here that I may put on in front of Suchel, but we'll get to that at 2:20.
Hey,
so we
Chad, are you okay with Jason coming on a little earlier? He's asking me if there's an opening, he might want to wait on his lunch and hop on a little earlier. Does before like 12:40 or something like that work for you?
Okay, much earlier. Like the end of this hour.
What do you think? Yeah, I'm corresponding with Jason right now.
You know what? You tell him I will work with his schedule.
Okay.
You just let me know, and I'll let the people know. That's what we'll do.
Right.
That is what we will do. So Jason Suchel may be coming up a little earlier.
Maybe a little earlier.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so Longhorn fans, let me know what you're thinking about your team today. Paul says, I don't think Texas is elite until they prove they can beat who they're supposed to beat. Not stressful at all. Yeah, right. Exactly. That is kind of where they are. That is where they are. You got to have that weird balance of you know, to be elite in this world of college football, you can't lose 2 games and go to the playoff. You're only allowed 1. You're trying to figure out where that 1 could be. And frankly, it could be one of these next 2. I mean, you have to realize that. Kansas could do it. Oklahoma could do it. After that, it does feel like there could be like a big exhale. Yeah. Not only because you're halfway through the year and you just played 2 ranked teams, you get the bye at that spot. I think it's a perfect bye for Texas and Oklahoma. I think that's brilliant.
I think the schedule could not have worked out any better for Texas.
Oh, man, I don't know why it's never been that way. I love that idea. If I go mid-year on my rival game, give me the bye right then, like right afterwards. I know the pattern is always, for years and years, Alabama and LSU would always get the bye leading in so they could prep for the game. I always thought the opposite would make sense. It's give them the stuff afterwards.
Well, it depends on your team. I mean, Texas is rolling right now, super confident. You want to ride the high through these 2 big games and then the exhale and start prepping for the rest of the season with higher expectations, I think.
Yeah. Speaking of expectations, how about Brandon's world right now? Just enjoying the dream, boys. My Longhorns are 4-0. My Dolphins are 3-0. Nobody wake me up until the championship parades are over. Yeah, it's good to be a Dolphins fan right now. We got a couple friends that are Dolphins fans, and Absolutely. They are just loving life right now. Unbelievable. All right, here is Chase jumping in with a chat. Ohio State, new quarterback. Georgia, new quarterback. Bama, new quarterback. It's the perfect storm for a new team to win the title. All right. Like how you're thinking there, Chase. There you go. All right, let's see. Where's this one going? This is Hunter. I admitted to myself the Cowboys were for real after 2 weeks just for them to lay an egg against Arizona. This is what happens. Yes, as a Cowboys fan here, I'll admit, every time they go up 7-0 or 10-0, I not only chalk it up as a win, I start extrapolating what it could mean. Like, that's how dumb I am sometimes as a Cowboys fan. 14-0. Well, good game. Obviously, they did what they needed to do. They get this win. Next 3 games, stop. And I always have to stop myself. Stop it. It's mid-first quarter. They haven't even taken, like, the 3rd commercial break yet. Calm down. Please. It's a tough thing to do. But today, that's what it's about. It is dreaming big. It is trying to figure out exactly where they can be this season. Where is Ketch? Again, Ketch taking the day off. Thank you for asking, Eric. He's taking a day off, get a little rest and relaxation. Plus, again, they were dealing with a bit of an issue with one of the dogs yesterday. Had to be taken into surgery. And so we got to take care of the dog as well. Got a patient to take care of. Dogs always take care of us. Sometimes we got to turn around and take care of them as well.
Hey, speaking of dreaming big, Jason Suchel at 12:40. Does that work for you?
12:40. That works. That works. Jason Suchel at 12:40. I will jot that down. Paul, how dare you? Ketch said he needed a break from Chad. His words. That actually might be true. Might be true. I just talk all the time. I'm always interrupting Ketch. I get that can be frustrating for him. All right. So, and to this question, Jared, what time will Tony Baroni be on the show today? Tony Baroni is not going to come on the show. He had a scheduling conflict, but thank you so much
Johnny Manziel filling in for Sukumo at 220. No.
Oh my God, how cool would that be? How cool would that be if Manziel was on the show? This one is from Text Guy 2. Not sure I'm going to get used to Chad completing his sentences. Me either. Text Guy 2. Occasionally you're going to hear me just stop and wait, but we'll all get through it. We will all get through it together. So a lot of good chats rolling in. Let's give Specs their love. First off with a little 15-second hit. Let's do that, Blake. Let's remind them, give them the imagery of what they need to be stocking up on for all their football stuff.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
There it is.
Download that Specs app. Come on now.
Specs app. I got it on my phone as well. It's a great thing. You can just scroll through, find all the favorite versions of your favorite stuff. The other day I was checking on the Deep Eddy vodka. They got all the different flavors of Deep Eddy vodka you'd want. You can get it delivered. SpecsOnline.com. And of course, if you're headed to the game, this may not be your week for Specs, or maybe you're getting stocked up for the NFL. But if you're not headed to DKR, you're going to do a watch along with me and Ketch. That would be 2:15. We'll jump in for the 2:30 kick.
That's right.
SpecsOnline.com. And remember, we say it all the time. Specs has been around since 1962. You'll see that other commercial of theirs where she's rocking the 62 shirt. Have you seen that? It says Specs 62 on it. Yeah, they started before Texas had even won their first national title in football.
60 years, man.
Oh, they have the absolute best stuff. And if you're a craft beer snob like me, if you're a whiskey snob like my man Rick Sacamano is, he'll call me up occasionally and just go, dude, get over to Elgin. They're supposed to get a couple bottles of the 1854 Smithy Dougal, 19-year, blah, blah, whatever. And I'm like, all right, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll try. So they'll put, that's a weird world, the whiskey snob world, where they'll put the bottles behind the counter and they won't put them out the side. You got to ask.
It is a crazy world.
You got to know like passwords and stuff. And it's like, did they text you the password? Yes. Can I get to the next level before I get? So Specs can do all that stuff for you. Check out SpecsOnline.com. Get that app.
I believe they also carry electric jellyfish, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the Pine House electric jellyfish. I have seen it at a Specs as well. I purchased it at Specs. It's a good call. Good call. And Pine House sponsors our watch-alongs on Saturday. If you have not, check it out. Mash the like button. Thank you, Doug. See, I'm the old man who's I've only been doing this a couple months, so thank you. The like button and get your notifications. Get all this technology working your way so you can get all of the ghost monkey voices in our head and everything that they're saying. And today, most importantly, as many of your feelings that we can get out today, because when one of us is off the show, you're going to have, well, I can't guarantee that the other way because Ketch would be talking a lot even when I'm not around, because then he doesn't have to worry about even letting me in at all. But anyway, when Ketch isn't here, maybe more of your feelings could get out. And, you could just let us know. Just like this one, randomly. Michael says he's headed to the game Saturday. There you go. That normally probably doesn't make the show. Probably doesn't make the show if both of us are here because we're talking about other stuff. Here's another one from Randy. Texas running game will take off on Saturday against Kansas at DKR.
That's an interesting take, considering the Kansas run defense is pretty good.
Yeah. That's exactly where I was going to. Yeah, 25 in the country, and Kansas's opponents have not been a big deal yet overall. But yeah, are they really 25 in the country against the run? Texas running offense is right now 67th in the country. As the show goes on, I'll take a look at some of those number comparisons. One of the things I like to do every week as we get into the season, especially, and I feel like the numbers start to actually matter a little bit, 3 and 4 and 5 and 8 games into a schedule. I do something I call the 10-100. I look at, are you top 10 at anything? And are you 100th or worse at anything? Because I feel like those are some good indicators. There's a couple matchups this week that I think will matter in that regard. So we'll get to all of that. Continue to send us your thoughts on Texas. We are looking for your fill in the blank. They could blank. Realistically, they could blank. Soto 806 says defense has 2 interceptions on Saturday. 2 of them.
Jalen Ford and somebody else.
And probably Jalen Ford. It may both be actually Jalen Ford. And remember, Kansas had 2. defensive scores last week, a fumble, scoop and score, and an interception. So Jason Suchel is coming up at 12:40. Before we get to that, I do want to mention this college football playoff discussion. I think it's important to note it right now because there's a big meeting coming today that could start to change things moving forward. Let's take a look at this AP poll here. This is the latest poll, right? So just look at 1 through 12 there. That would be your 12-team playoff right now. Is it realistic today? No, but let's just have fun. So you'd have Florida State and Penn State and Washington and USC hosting Oregon, Utah, Notre Dame, and Bama. And, of course, Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and Ohio State would be waiting. But here's your question. Where do you see the first G5 team? Keep going down. LSU, Oklahoma, North Carolina. Oh, keep going. Miami, Ole Miss. There's Florida. Oh, there they are. Fresno State is your number 25 team right now. And that is your highest ranked G5 team. Here's why I bring it up. The system that they've talked about for the expanded playoff is a 6-6 system. 6 teams get determined by conference championships. 6 are wild cards. And the 6 idea was Power 5 champs get in, and then 1 G5 champ gets in, the highest ranked G5 champ. So let's, for the sake of argument, let's say that's Fresno State. Let's say by the end of the year, that's who that is. So that's the idea they've talked about. But now they're meeting, and they have yet to talk about this. They didn't do it yesterday, but they're going to talk about it today. And what they're going to talk about is this Pac-12 crap that's turned into the Pac-2. So Washington State and Oregon State are trying to make legal moves and take legal action, maybe make an argument that, wait a minute, we still deserve Power 5 status. And other conferences are saying, that's stupid. You're only going to have 2 teams. What are you talking about? So in the next couple days, they may discuss not only a 6-6 idea, but moving forward, we may go to a 5-7 idea, meaning there are 4 power conferences, all the champs get in, then 1 extra G5 gets in, that's your 5, and then you go 7 wild cards. But Blake, here's the dangerous part. The AAC commissioner has been under the spotlight the last couple of days because of little comments he's made back and forth. The G5 folks would like him to fight hard for 6 and to stay with 6-6. He's admitting they may have to go to 5-7. Because follow my logic on this. If you stay 6-6 and there's no Pac-12, well, guess what? That means 4 powers get in, and you still need 2 other conference champions, and the G5 would get 2 of them. That is what could be happening. Now, the AAC commissioner has been very clear. What he's talking about is 2026. The deal, they've agreed to expand it, but remember, the deal with all these conferences runs out in 25. So we'll have 2 seasons of the expanded 12-team version before we get to like a new version of whatever it's going to, a new signed, okay, everybody agrees to move forward. So which version are they agreeing to? So what I want from you today also on the Specs chat line is your thoughts on this system moving forward. Do you like the idea of conference champions determining a place, or do you want it to all be committee, all at large, whatever? Do you like the idea of 2 G5s getting in? Do you like the idea of just 1 G5? Where are your thought process? Where's your thought process on that? Real quick, I looked up the number for G5s that have gotten in the playoff, or that would have gotten in, I guess is how I should say it.
So finished in the top 12.
Finished in the, you just brought up a great question.
Yeah.
There's no qualification that I've seen that says they have to be ranked in the top 12. Right. The qualification is just that they win the conference.
They win the conference, and there's no determination of, like, these are the AAC champions, right? Or is there a specific conference that gets that status?
It would just be it's the best of those 5.
Okay, the best of the 5.
The best of the 5. Could be Sun Belt one year. It could be AAC one year, Mountain West one year, whatever. And there's a whole nother Mountain West discussion to have in a second. But what I found was the average ranking of the team that for me would have been that G5 team, average ranking is 18. And only once were they in the top 12. That would have been Coastal a couple years ago. Okay. Now, here's what I also did. When I went back and looked, I counted any team that's now in a Power 5. I didn't count that team. So if it was Cincinnati, I didn't count them as because they also made the playoff that in a particular year. But I wasn't going to count Cincinnati or BYU, UCF. You get where I'm going. Because I'm trying to give us all a sense for the teams that could get in moving forward that we might consider mid-level or lesser. So Memphis would have gotten in twice. Fresno State, Coastal, Navy would have gotten in once. Boise, Western Michigan, Tulane would have been last year, by the way I was looking at it. So these are the kinds of questions they have to figure out. And frankly, they haven't absolutely figured it out yet. It's not officially done. Christopher jumps in on the chat and says, keep it with 12-team format. G5 needs to be ranked to get in. Okay, so you'd be okay with somebody where Fresno State is right now. That's ranked, right? 25th? That's okay? Because here's the other thing. Throw the AP back up, Blake. Let's solve the toughest problem of it. Because here's what you're doing. This is what we all worry about. You want the best games, right? We expand out. Take that top 12. Now look at Fresno State at 25. Okay, let's put them in. Who do you take out right now? Notre Dame and Bama at 11 and 12 are the only ones with a loss. Let's just say, for the argument, it's time to go to the playoff. What do? You kick Bama out, who had a loss to the number 3 team in the country? Or do you throw Notre Dame out, who just lost a 3-point game, admitted it was at home? Both teams would have lost at home. Then you have to have that battle of what's the worst loss. And you're going to put Fresno State in over one of those two. Hartman is out and Fresno State is in, or Alabama's out and Fresno State is in. Kids, Fresno State has played Eastern Washington so far this year. Ugh. So just to make the argument for today, that's when I think it gets silly. Now, for me, what I'd love to see is let's throw some qualifications in here. In the NFL, the qualifications are really simple. We set up divisions. If you win your division, you're in. If you're the next best, 3 teams, you're in. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait. Feels pretty normal. It makes sense to a lot of people because there's also only 32 teams. We're in a world here where you got 60 or so teams that really matter. You got another 60 or so that kind of matter. And we're trying to figure out how to battle with all these. What about you have to be ranked? And Blake, you kind of led there. What if you have to be ranked in the top 12 by the committee to get this consideration? Forget about conference titles. You just got to be good enough to be top 12. If you're top 12 and you're G5, you get in. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's how you do it. Of course, the G5 people are going to say, no, wait a minute. These AP voters are never going to put us in the top 12.
Yeah, the AP voters are going to be biased against the group of 5. That's what they're going to say.
Of course they are. Yeah. These AP voters don't even watch teams out west that matter.
Yeah.
We're really not watching the ones out west that don't and the ones in the central that don't. If they're not staying up for a Washington game, you really expect them to follow what Coastal's doing on a teal field? No, that's not realistic either. So just keep an eye on this thing. I think I'm with Chris here, says I'm okay with 1 G5. I might be as well, depending on the team. Eyeball test, right? Mm-hmm. Cincinnati felt pretty damn good when they got in. That Coastal team would have been the 12 seed that year.
Yeah.
And had to travel. Okay. I could deal with that. But
you also got to figure out where to seed them, right? So maybe if they're ranked outside the top 12, they're obviously the 12 seed, but where do you put a team if they're inside the top 12? How do you the playoff committee is going to have to decide.
Right. Yeah, exactly. How do they get seeded? Will the G5 always be the 12 seed? Because that might not always be fair, obviously. Mm-hmm. Yes, one of our favorite names, Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat. Get rid of the ranked requirement for G5. Make it a win requirement. 10 wins or something. Rank always comes with bias. I like that idea. Now, we also know there's bias in scheduling, but we already have a parameter that's been set, even though it's not a rule. Nobody's had 2 losses and gotten in. So do you want to set up a rule that says once you lose 2 games or once you expand to 12, maybe it needs to be 3. If you lose your 3rd game, you're out. Once could happen. Twice, you got to be careful. 3 strikes and you're out. I'd be okay with that system. No 9-3 regular season team can get in, but a 10-2 could. That frustrates me. I'll watch some 10-2 teams and think, that's a pretty good football team. I don't know if I want to mess with that group right now. So could that be it? If you're a G5, you got to win.
An interesting point here too. Strength of schedule.
Right.
Is there a point where, like, if you're outside the top 50 in strength of schedule, like, you're not considered if you have 2 losses? I don't know.
Yeah, Nate, that's a great point, because we all know college football teams get to set their own schedule. And I don't think they're ever changing that. I wish they did. I wish they did what the NFL would do. Put it in a computer, run an algorithm, and just tell Belichick and McCarthy and all those guys, fellas, this is your schedule. Go play it and shut up. I wish they could do that in college. Even if they could do one, I've begged for years, one non-conference that nobody gets to pick. Nobody does. And do it on rankings if you want. 1 year, just say, hey, number 1 in the SEC is going to play number 1 in the Big Ten next year in a non-conference. Y'all don't like it? Who cares? And we move on. But they're not going to do that part. So you're absolutely right to bring that up, Nate. The scheduling could get weird. When you curtail and craft your schedule, you sort of fix it to where you could end up with 10 or more wins, and maybe you're not as real. But that's what that we all, I think, have to live with. I don't think you're changing that part of it. I really don't.
What about playoffception, Chad? What if we have a group of 5 playoff to get into the playoff?
Oh, now that's a whole nother discussion. Cotton says if Notre Dame, if they fall out of the top 12, would be replaced by a G5 champ. Right. That's what I'm saying. To me, that doesn't make sense. Now, Blake's idea I like, and I've argued for years that if you're going to have the scheduling the way it is, what's the problem with declaring the G5 a separate division, just like you've declared Division II, Division III, and FCS? They all have their own play. In fact, they have real playoffs. They have real big expanded playoffs in D2, D3, and one old 1AA, FCS. That's been my argument. Like, if you actually set up a 4-team playoff for G5 and that Coastal team was playing Cincinnati or this team, I think people would watch that. But
I'd be watching.
I don't know if
the winner getting into the big playoff. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think it would make sense.
I think it's too many games, but it would be exciting.
All right, so here's another thought on the chat from Tetapere1. I like that name. As long as the top 2 teams in the Power 4 play each other and no, what is that, East, West, North, South shenanigans. Champions and at-large ranked with qualifications. Okay, so that's somebody calling for, the way the SEC is going to do it moving forward and others. This will be the last year of divisions there. Feel like we're seeing that move away. So they're saying as long as you're getting the absolute 2 best in the conference, then it would make sense that champion could get in. I could live with that idea, because that's the one thing I would say about it feels like we have the argument every year of, did the conference championship games matter? That is one way that we could all understand they would matter. Absolutely, positively, make it a win and you're in game. You would win to get in. You would improve your seeding. You could improve your chance of hosting. You could improve your chance of a bye, all those things. So that, to me, that could make some sense. But just keep your eye on this story in the next couple of days. Normally, I would never tell you to care what the AAC commissioner has to say, but his thoughts on it and what this committee sets up. Because here's the other thing. To change it, if I'm reading correctly, to change from 6-6 to 5-7, say for next year, they need it to be unanimous. They don't need a majority. They need it to be unanimous to change it. So we could be going into next year with either no Pac-12 or one other small idea. What if the Mountain West and Pac-12 come together and you've got 14 teams, but 12 of them are the old Mountain West? The other 2 just bring the Pac-12 name, and you're still going to call that a P5?
No.
Is that how that works? No. I'm not sure. I am not sure. Because in that format, now we're left with a G4, not a G5. The Mountain West wouldn't exist anymore, but the Pac-12 kind of would. I don't know. But just keep your eye on it. Next couple of days, we may actually see a vote come through. And is it going to change or not? If they stick with the 6-6 next year, it feels like you could get two kind of watered down feeling teams in that first expanded playoff.
Hey, Chad, this is a discussion for another time, but these conferences got to change their names. I'm tired of the Pac-12. Like, the Big Ten can't be the Big Ten with 100 teams.
Well,
the Big 12.
That part, honestly, I thought that would bug me as a very OCD type of guy. I thought it would bug me, but to me, it just becomes a brand. Because to me, Michigan's a Big Ten team. The number, like people that used to do that all the time, where the Big 12 doesn't even have 12. I know, but when we hear it, you know. You just kind of know what it is. And in my life, there have been a lot of differences, right? There have been Big 8s and Big 12s and Pac.
They've changed in the past. Yeah.
It was Pac 6 and Pac 8 and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think it just depends on how you kind of want to brand it. But I get you. The numbers are about to go way off in some cases when you're talking about 16 or what's the Big 10 going to end up at? 18?
I think 18. Yormark has referenced that there is a brand shift coming for the Big 12. I'm curious if it's just a different look or they're actually changing the name, but I think that's coming next year if I remember correctly.
I think you're right. All right, so just keep that discussion in mind. We may journey back to that. Again, we do have a couple of guests coming up. We got Anoir Richardson coming up at 1:20. We got Jason Suchel coming up just about right now in just a second. Before I do that, I just want to mention after Jason, if you have not seen Grilling with Alex yet, we're going to debut that on House Divided coming up after Jason, because Ketch and the Orange Bloods crew have been putting together these great recruiting flashbacks. Well, Alex and Blake had a little bit of a crazy idea, and they decided to put a little grilling discussion together. Alex has a great idea for you. That's coming up as soon as we are done talking to Jason. And I'm actually checking my notes because we're going to get some notes in here. There we go. Okay. All right. So let's bring in Jason Suchel of orangebloods.com. That is at OB_Jason S. if you want to check him out on Twitter. Jason, I appreciate the time, brother. How are you?
I'm good, Chad. Always good to be on, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I know there's always there's always recruiting stuff going on, and so I wanted to get to some of that first. Give me a thought on we talked about Brandon Baker the other day, the stud offensive lineman who committed to Texas. So as we get ready for this Kansas game, there's obviously guys that are going to be coming in for visits. There's kind of the energy of that, but start with Baker and sort of what you're seeing now, the effects, the ripple effect of the commitment.
Yeah. And first off, you're right. There's always recruiting going on. I always jokingly say, I feel like I'm a doctor who's on call 24/7, 365 days a year. Mm-hmm. Not nearly as important as a doctor. I get it. But there have been Christmas mornings, Chad, where commitments have broken. Like literally 1 year, I'm not kidding. And I'll get to your question in a second. But 1 year when my kids were really young, a guy ends up committing and literally we're in the middle of opening presents. My kids are like, sorry, guys, we got to put a pause on Santa here for about an hour so Dad can go to work for a little bit. So, yeah.
Santa's looking at a 5-star.
Yeah,
hang on
exactly.
1 second.
My wife, bless her heart, she puts up with it pretty well. But there are many frustrating nights we're at dinner or whatever, or birthday parties, and I'm like, I'm on my phone the whole time. But anyways, to your question, Texas gets a commitment from Brandon Baker, the modern-day offensive lineman. That happened Sunday night. The ripple effect hasn't been seen yet, but I think it could have some impact for Texas down the road. Immediately after he committed, you saw like 3 or 4 of his teammates out at Modern Day that Texas they're recruiting. Those guys are all like tweeting like, oh, hook them, or hey, is that the move for me too? They've got a teammate of his coming in this weekend, DeAndre Carter, another offensive tackle. They are bookend offensive tackles. He's committed to Auburn, but he's coming in this weekend to visit Texas on an official visit. It might have a little bit of carryover. Weston Davis was an offensive lineman. We talked about him last week. Mm-hmm. He's committed to Texas A&M. He was going to visit Texas on an official visit. And as of Friday night, man, that visit was still on. He was like, yep, I'm going. Saturday, he goes to A&M to watch A&M beat up on Auburn, and kind of shut it down after that. He's like, nah, I'm not going to take that visit anymore. He tweeted that, right? Kind of threw me for a loop. Not that he decided he wasn't going to visit. I kind of had my eye on that. I said, okay, A&M's going to probably try to shut that down. But he ended up deleting that tweet that said he's not visiting, right? So now I'm like, okay, is he now going to try to sneak in and not tell anybody? Crazy world of recruiting, right? But I did hit up, Weston's not talking, but I did hit up a Texas source last night, and I just said, hey, is he coming in? And if he is, do I need to be quiet about it? And the person said, no sweat. They're like, he's not coming in. So that one looks like it's kind of swung back to A&M. We'll see if Texas continues to chip away. Maybe they don't need to. If they get DeAndre Carter, the guy who's coming in this weekend, if he commits, they may not need Weston Davis. But that's a story we'll continue to monitor. So it's a lot going on, and we can talk about some of the other guys coming in as well.
Yeah, and that's got to be a fascinating discussion behind the scenes of, let's just keep it to Carter and Davis. Does that allow Texas to focus more on Carter because of Davis? Or is it a chicken and an egg? I wonder too. Is it just something where they tell us it's two separate discussions and they're happening, separately, or is it something where, are they somehow related? I don't know. But that is interesting that Davis is so now not making the trip, but Carter is going to be in. And then also, just to be clear, Jason, I know Baker just committed. Is Baker also coming in this weekend, or is it just the teammate?
He's already taken his official visit. So if he was coming, it would be an unofficial. I need to ask him that. I'm kind of interested in building my visit list kind of this afternoon. I don't think he's coming in, but literally, Chad, I just got a text as you were talking. I'm going to give you some breaking news on this show right now.
Come on.
Colin Simmons, the 5-star defender from Duncanville, will be there. His mother just confirmed with me. So there's a big contingency of Duncanville kids going there. None bigger than Colin Simmons, but he will be at the Texas game this weekend.
Yeah. By the way, Jason, not to brag or anything, but in about a week or so, I'm going to my 30th high school reunion.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
In beautiful Waxahachie, Texas, and homecoming games against Duncanville. So,
oh, good luck. Yeah.
If you need me to get eyes on Colin Simmons, let you know what it looks like, I can do that.
Yeah, maybe. Please do. Man, it's sad. I'm trying to do the math. I graduated in 91, so that would be 32 years. So
you're a little ahead of me there.
I never went to any of my high school reunions. All my friends get mad at me. I'm like, they're always on Saturdays during football season. Like,
I know. It's weird. I keep asking. I'm like, why don't y'all do something in the summer? Like, I don't understand. But yeah, I did 20, and we're doing 20 and 30. Those are about the only ones I've been able to make. Gotcha. But yeah, I'm interested to see if I can find a way in there. Seeing Colin Simmons would be cool. So there you go. A little breaking news, Texas fans. Colin Simmons will be in visiting this weekend as well. Another name I know that's on people's minds right now. Jason, tell me about Decorian Moore. This is a class of 25 guy. Is that right? And he's coming in?
Yeah. You see his name all over the chat. And someone mentioned Alex January, who's a Texas commitment from Duncanville. Yes, I can confirm both of those guys will be in. But Decorian Moore, 5-star receiver. I think he is the number 1 ranked. Number 2 ranked receiver in the nation for 2025, number 7 overall player in the country. This dude's the elite of the elite, 5-star player. He's coming in. This is his second time. He came in for the Wyoming game. Okay. And that's interesting in itself, right? He's a tremendous player, but what's more interesting, he committed to LSU back in August. So he's committed to LSU. He hasn't been back to Baton Rouge once. He's been to Austin, now going to be twice. For consecutive home games, and he's going to be there with several teammates from Duncanville teammates. So
he's a Duncanville guy as well.
He's a Duncanville guy as well, correct? So you can watch him at your reunion possibly.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, we can send you a list of Duncanville guys to focus on, Chad.
So what you're telling me is Waxahachie has a real chance to upset him. Is that
I would not get your hopes up. Just enjoy your weekend, maybe not the game so much. But,
yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, Decorian, he committed to LSU. I wouldn't even say unexpectedly because we kind of got wind it was going to happen, but I would say surprisingly, a guy that he committed so early, a guy of that magnitude and that talent. I mean, he could literally pick up the phone and call any school in the country at any day, even on signing day of 2025, and commit there. But he decided to commit early, committed to LSU. He's now been in Austin. This will be the second consecutive home game. Chad, I'm considering him an uncommitted prospect at this point. I mean, we'll leave him as a commit in the Rivals database, and unless he formally opens up his recruitment. But anytime a guy's taking other visits, that many other visits, that's not a committed guy in my mind. So, Decorium would probably tell you, no, I'm still committed to LSU, and he'd say the right things. I'm still happy with LSU, and LSU has nothing to worry about. But anytime a guy's taking multiple visits like that, that's big news. So he will be in Austin again this weekend. He was in town for the Wyoming game. He'll be back in town this weekend as well.
Big time stuff there. So a lot of big visitors coming in for Texas and Kansas to deal with that 2:30 heat for the kickoff. So the recruits will do that as well. They're used to it. They've been playing in Texas heat a long time. Jason Suchel jumping in here for a couple of minutes, and a reminder, of course, and I know many of you know this, but remember, sitting here on a Wednesday, Thursday night is the War Room. So all the latest nuggets and news and notes on who's coming in for a visit, late breaking stuff. You just saw it happen. Jason gets these late breaking. People are texting in, and he finds stuff out. Colin Simmons is going to be a part of that visiting group. Get the full list as we get ready for it tomorrow night in the War Room. Jason, there's a couple other things I wanted to get to with you. One of the things, though, was Mojo Insurance, because I know when Ketch and I have talked about it in the past, he always mentions you as a guy that does have that personal connection with Mojo and can tell the people about it. So what would you tell the folks today about Mojo Insurance?
Yeah, I'm like an unsolicited advertisement for them, but I have used Mojo Insurance, so I've got great experience with them, and you see it there on the screen. They'll over 50 A-rated carriers. And listen, I always say, Chad, it's a no-lose investment. Use Mojo Insurance. Insurance rates are always going up, right? Nobody likes shopping for insurance. You got to go to everybody's website and fill out all these forms. It takes so much time. It's a pain in the butt. It's tedious. Dude, you call Mojo and Abel and his guys, they do all the work for you, man. You basically tell them what you want, what you have now, and they go shopping around, and they will save you money. In the rare chance that they can't save you money, which is probably not going to happen, they will save you money. But if they can't save you money, it doesn't cost you anything. It costs you a 2-minute phone call is all. So, man, I can't recommend Mojo Insurance highly enough. Scan that QR code there. You see them, go to Mojo Insurance. Let those dudes take care of you, because they do great work, and they will save you money and make your life a lot easier.
There you go. Get that scan going right now. All right, Jason, in terms of this Texas football team right now at 4-0, I asked the question earlier, kind of off of what Ketch talked about in his 10 things this week and some other discussion I've heard. It's kind of like, how big are you willing to dream with this team? The fill in the blank I'm doing for Texas fans today is, realistically, they could blank. After what you've seen out of 4 games, how would you fill in that blank? Like, how positive are you willing to go? Is there trepidation going into these 2 tough games? Like, where are you right now on Texas?
Well, I'm usually the guy on the Orange Blood staff that's kind of the grumpy old man, the pessimist. You got to show me first, right? But
Right.
If you're asking me the question, realistically, Texas could win it all. I mean, I'm talking Big 12, the national championship. And listen, they're number 3 in the country. That's realistic at this point.
Sure.
Now, I will say, I'm not predicting that. I think it's possible. The ball's got to bounce their way. They've got to still stay healthy. They've got to be a little more consistent. They can't play like they did for 3 quarters against Wyoming. They can't be sluggish a little bit like we saw against Rice a little bit in the opener. But if they can bottle up what we saw last week against Baylor, what we saw in the late stages of that Alabama game, that's a Texas team that can play with anybody in the country. Now, again, consistency. I mean, Kansas is a good team, dude. It's not a foregone conclusion that they don't stub their toe this weekend and then,
Sure.
all this talk goes out the window. But if you're asking me what is possible, I think a national championship is possible. To be clear, I'm not predicting it. This isn't me, going and throwing out a bunch of money in Vegas on Texas winning the national championship. But I think it's a realistic scenario that can be talked about.
So earlier we also talked about Kansas's run defense. It's listed as 25 in the country. That gets tested this week. Are you buying into Jonathan Brooks as the lead running back of this team? Because right now he is definitely that. Good performance. More than a good performance against Wyoming by the end of that, against Baylor by the end of that game. The average was great. The numbers were great. Big runs, long runs, short runs, and did all kinds of stuff. For you, has he taken that job?
I think he probably should have, but the way Sark talks, it sounds like they're going to still kind of play it week by week. I mean, I fully expect Brooks to be the main guy this week and the guy that will get the first snaps and the first carries. But, I'm not sure. It's still not close to a 50-50 race between he and Baxter, assuming Baxter is fully healthy and all those things that go into it. But, I know the coaches, man, they love, first off, I know they love Jonathan Brooks as a player and as a person too. Sark mentioned on Monday, he's on their leadership council. And I've been covering Brooks since he was, I think, a junior in high school. And he is just an incredible young man, an easy guy to root for. I think he's a really good player. But I know Baxter, man, there's some people that think Baxter, has elite, I wouldn't say Bijan Robinson type potential because he's a different style back, but they think he's that kind of back. Okay. So, I think it's still going to be a bit of a running back by committee. I do think Brooks has earned that right and earned that opportunity to get the first crack at things. And, until he starts to slow down, I think he should be the first guy. But I also know they have a lot of confidence in CJ Baxter and, excitement with what he brings to the table. So I think you'll see a heavy workload for both those guys once CJ's fully healthy.
So once you get to a prediction time this week, I think my gut right now tells me I'm probably going to pick Texas to win the game, but not cover the 17 or whatever it is. Where are you on this game right now?
I'm in the exact same spot with one bit of hesitation. I talked to a couple Kansas people yesterday because I always call some Kansas or the opponent, whoever they're playing, I just kind of pick their brain for my matchups. So I, have a little bit of more knowledge when I'm writing my matchups, which I'll be writing this afternoon. But I said the same thing, exact same thing. I said, I think I'm going to pick Texas to win, but I think it's a little closer. I was surprised by that number. And this guy had just spent 20 minutes telling me how good Kansas is at all these different positions and their defensive line and Daniels. And, they can run the ball really well. But when I said that, he goes, I don't know, man. They let Nevada playing pretty close, and they didn't look good in this other game. So I was like, well, damn, now you got me second guessing myself. But I think I will pick Texas to win. And like you, I would think, my prediction will probably be a little closer than that 17-point spread.
All right, Jason. Now, before I let you go, I need some advice from you, and I'm also going to break my father's heart all at the same time. So I'm married to a Steelers fan. All right, I'm a Cowboys fan, married to a Steelers fan. You are a lifelong Steelers fan, correct?
I am. Yep, since kindergarten.
Okay, so I'm working my way towards it. I've got the Pitt T-shirt on today, right. And I've told my wife that as long as they're playing a team that's on my list of teams I hate, I will go and I'll wear the stuff. So I have it here. This is going to break my dad's heart, but I'm ready to roll on Sunday.
Oh, so you hate the Texans, huh?
Oh, I hate the Texans that much. I'm a Dallas area kid. I can't root for Houston pro teams. I've told her I'll go black and yellow, and I will root for the Steelers. I just you got any advice for me trying to pull this off as maybe literally a one-day Steelers fan? What do I need to know?
Try not to bang your head through a wall when their offense is terrible, man. They're finding ways to win, but it's not pretty. And hey, if you really want to upset some folks, I do have a Steelers Casey Hampton jersey, so you can upset your dad and your Aggie fans who probably
that would do
it. And Steeler action.
I think we might have settled on like a black shirt, and I think it's like a jersey with Watt on the back. I might be rocking the 90 and the Watt.
Everybody
I think that
Watt.
maybe
You can't go wrong there. Yeah.
That may be where we go, but the Casey Hampton idea.
Yeah,
I
bought a Casey Hampton jersey. I was up at a Steeler game in Pittsburgh with some buddies, and I think I was the only one in the stadium. I wore a Casey Hampton jersey and my cowboy boots up in Pittsburgh.
So, you know what? Just to make sure my dad speaks to me, let's stay away from the Casey Hampton jersey.
All right,
maybe we'll do that.
Stay away from that. Yeah.
It's gonna be fun though. My wife, my father-in-law, and the niece and nephew, and my brother-in-law, they're all Steelers people. And my wife's never been to an NFL game at all.
Oh, so y'all are going to the game?
Oh, we're going to the game.
I thought that's interesting. I was looking at tickets yesterday. I was like, man, Texas plays early. Maybe I could drive down Saturday night or even Sunday morning. Get a hotel. My son goes to school down at U of H, so go watch the game. But it's just a busy work weekend. It's probably not going to work for me. But yeah, you guys have fun. That'll be great.
It is going to be crazy, and then hopefully my dad will speak to me somewhere down the line. It's always good to speak to Jason Suchel. And again, check out if you're on Twitter at @OB_Jason S. He talked about his matchup segment that's coming, the matchup article coming at Orange Bloods, all the great stuff in the War Room that's coming, and all the latest in recruiting because it never stops. Even on Christmas morning, it's always there. And he just broke the story while we were talking that Colin Simmons is going to be one of those guys that comes in for the visit. Jason, I appreciate you making time today. We'll talk soon, man. Thank you.
All right, Chad. Thanks, man.
Jason Suchel, orangebloods.com. Thanks to Jason for the advice, which is good. I need that. Probably needed that a little bit. And thanks to all of you for jumping in the Specs chat today. All right, we are at the top of the hour, which means buy or sell's coming up. No catch today. So Blake, the producer, is going to jump in and do buy or sell with me after the debut of one of the greatest breaks that has ever been created on Orange Bloods Live. It will make you hungry, and it will apparently make you the hero in your house. This is episode 1 of Grilling with Alex. Here we go.
All right, it's grilling time, and I'm gonna give you guys a gift that you weren't expecting. And that's how to cook the best beef kebabs that you've ever had. And your family will love them, your kids will love them, your wife will love them. All right, here's what you gotta do. You go to H-E-B or Kroger or whatever it is. If you're a deer hunter, you can use backstrap for this, but I'm not sure I would do it because I don't wanna use backstrap for this because I want volume, okay? I want to get like 2 pounds of meat. And the meat that I want to get is either the chuck round that comes off the very top that's connected to the sirloin, or just sirloin. Just get like 2 pounds of like sirloin. That's like the best sirloin that they have there. It's going to cost you like $18. Get home, slice it into small little pieces, tenderize it. Use some whatever seasoning that you like. I like one called Grub Rub. You can find it at H-E-B. You can find it basically anywhere else. Pat it down with that after you've tenderized it, after you've used the tenderizer to beat it down, right? Do all that stuff. Throw it in a Ziploc bag. Then here's what you got to do, man. This is the big secret. And if you have kids, you'll realize this. Take some Sunny Delight, or just some orange juice, something like that, and put that in there, and then just put in some Worcestershire sauce, and then put in some soy sauce, and leave it overnight for one night. Once that gets done, you can put it on little skewers. The big deal is you have to cut them a little bit thin to where you can pull it across the skewer, right? Pull it across the skewer to make sure that it's like it grills and it's kind of like an easy bite off of that skewer, not a big thick piece of steak. I'm telling you, your kids are gonna love it. This is how it looks, and also your wife's gonna probably want you to make some zucchini and squash, and so we'll do that too.
There it is. I'm hungry. I have no idea why the people in the Specs chat are ripping on the spot. Alex, I thought it was great. It made me hungry. I specifically enjoyed listening to like a nice evening, cooking of kebabs, that nice.
Oh, it's so nice at the end.
And then the like overproduced rockin'
grilling with Alex in the underworld
kind of metal tune. That sounds like South Park would have put it in something. That was great. That was fantastic. And we're glad you're with us today on House Divided. No Ketch today. He's taking a day off. He'll be back tomorrow. By the way, a couple of good guests lined up. We will always be glad to get Brian Jones on the show. Brian of CBS. And what do they have this week? They're Georgia-Auburn in the Classic 2:30 spot. And it looks like that's the only big CBS game this week. So the number one team will be on CBS. We'll get Brian's thoughts on Texas and Kansas, of course, other stuff going on around college football. Then tomorrow at 2:20, we will talk to the voice of the Kansas Jayhawks, Brian Haney, who will call the game, one of the great dudes in our business, always willing to give you the honest opinion on the team. So we'll get his thoughts on Kansas so far. How good is Daniels in this offense? How good is that defensive front with all the transfers on it that Ketch has talked about this week. That's 2:20 tomorrow with Brian Haney. We've also got Anoir Richardson coming up of Orange Bloods at 1:20. Anwar's thoughts on Texas and Kansas. He'll be back in a home environment this week at DKR, but I do want to get his thoughts on, just a couple weeks after that Bama trip, his last time in Waco. He's got to be emotional. I mean, if you saw the post game and all the emotions that Anwar was going through, like he was
so many memories.
He tried to process his feelings with a trash can. It was very, very emotional on Saturday night. I want to get some of his thoughts on that as well. That other face you're seeing is Blake, the super producer. He's the man who makes it all happen, and he's behind the scenes on a lot of stuff with Orange Bloods Live. But right now, he's front and center because if Ketch isn't here and I try to do buy or sell, like one part of my personality does buy or sell for the other part of my personality, or I do like, Scottish guy and Lou Holtz doing buy or sell. I'm not sure if that's going to quite work.
That could have worked. That could have worked. We'll save that for another time.
By the way, speaking of Lou, we had the Lou update in the crap bag today. He did fire back at Ryan Day for firing at him. So we will get you that coming up at 2:00, along with some other emotions. It's a very emotional crap bag today. There's people just mad about stuff in the crap bag. So we'll get into that at 2. But right now, let's do a little buy or sell. Blake, would you like to go first or second today?
You hit me.
All right, I will go first. Here we go. Buy or sell number 1. In terms of the David Thomas catches and yards records for tight ends at UT, you think Sanders will get one of those records, but not both?
Ooh. Can you tell me what what exactly Thomas's records are?
So yesterday, hang on, Ketch gave us that yesterday.
Yeah.
And did I save those numbers? Hang on. Where is it? I thought I saved those numbers. Oh, there it is. So Thomas is at 98 catches. Sanders has 66. So he's 32 away on catches.
Okay.
The yards is 1367 is what he's shooting for. Pardon my phone. And he's got 881 in terms of yards.
Yeah, I think one. Yeah, I think one. I don't know if he gets to the catch. Well, catches might be close. I definitely think he gets to the yards. He's on pace for a monster season so far this year. I think he does get to the yards. I'll buy.
Okay, all right. So you like yards and maybe not the catches. I got you. Fair enough. All right. And yeah, we'll keep our eyes on those records throughout the season. All right.
Yeah, keep track of those.
Buy or sell number 2. When I originally wrote this, there was an if. All right. I see you're calling. Why are you calling?
Is that a house phone?
What? Yes. It's not just Sucamel. I have a house phone too.
No.
Good grief. Hold on. I thought I had it. Dealt with.
So there was a moment in time about 5 minutes ago when there were 2 house phones on the channel at the same time.
Absolutely. And how dare everybody for making fun of that? Let me turn the volume down like an old man here. Good grief. Save the volume down. Yes. Sucamel and me. And apparently Sucamel is getting rid of his. So I'm going to have the only landline in the Orange Bloods family coming up soon. All right. Buy or sell. Since Wigman is out and can't play for the rest of the season, Aggies go 8-4.
I'm going to buy. I think Max Johnson is actually a very serviceable quarterback. I mean, he made some throws on Saturday that frankly blew me away from a backup quarterback standpoint. That one over the middle in the end zone was phenomenal.
Yeah, the one to Stewart, that was crazy.
That was crazy. I'll buy. I think 8-4 is about right for the Aggies.
Okay. Fair enough. Buy or sell number 3, Blake. Both quarterbacks at DKR will throw for 250 plus on Saturday.
Ooh.
250 plus both ways, Ewers and Daniels.
I'm going to sell.
Okay.
I think Kansas is going to run Daniels more than they have so far this season. I think he throws for 220, 230-ish and rushes for 60 to 70.
All right. Fair enough. Buy or sell number 4. Let's just go ahead and put all the cards on the table, Blake, because you're a fan like I am. The Rangers will win the division.
I'm going to buy, and it's because they got 2.5 games to blow.
Because there's leeway, right?
We got some leeway. Like, like the bullpen, I feel like we're coming into the 7th inning here with a decent lead. Just hang on, brothers.
5 games left. a 2.5 game lead at this point. All right. And finally, Blake, let's get a sense of where you stand as a younger guy discussing a little bit of an older woman here. Gwyneth Paltrow has a birthday today. Gwyneth hits the big 5-1 today. Simply buy or sell. Gwyneth Paltrow is hot.
Yeah, I'll buy.
Yeah?
For standard. Yeah, absolutely. On a scale, these actresses absolutely
Okay.
buy.
Just checking. Just checking. I feel like she's a little polarizing to some people. Some people think, some people say pretty, not hot. Some people don't think she's pretty at all. Like I've seen a lot of a range on Gwyneth. I'm with you. I think she is absolutely hot.
Yeah.
Especially if anybody's ever seen the last scene of Iron Man 3.
We got any Gwyneth candles? No. Candles.
I don't have any Gwyneth candles, but if you haven't seen the last scene of Iron Man 3, go check it out. You can't tell me she's not hot after that. All right, Blake, what do you got? Buy or sell time?
All right. Well, believe it or not, we share a buy or sell question, but I want your opinion.
Okay.
The Wigman injury is devastating, but you believe Max Johnson will lead the Aggies to 8+ wins.
Yeah, I'm going to buy, and my prediction was at 9. I think both Texas and Texas A&M are getting to 9+ this year. I'm staying with it, and there's multiple reasons why. That defense, man, if that defense can dial in each week, they can be pretty nasty. I'm still going to say when you make it 8+, especially, that means they've got 3 more losses to play with. And yeah, but Max has looked good, so I'm going to buy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Buy or sell number 2. NFL divisions with the best uniforms, the NFC East and the AFC West.
Let me think on it a second. The NFC East and the AFC West. Both are very, very good. Let's go through it in my mind, because the AFC East, there's some quality there. AFC North, some classic quality there. The Souths have some okay, but there's a little weirdness in the South. I guess I'll buy that. There's classic looks, and the Chargers, what they pulled off was so impressive. Yeah. And there's a part of you that did that because I'm a Cowboys guy and you're a Chiefs guy. So you're also asking me to give the Chiefs some love. And
I'll tell you why I like those two divisions. It's because the diversity of the uniforms. They all have different, very unique looks.
Right.
Instantly recognizable.
Yeah. I'll go with it. Yeah, I'll go with a buy on that. They both have good looks, and specifically the Chargers. Since they changed, they haven't missed. Have not missed a uniform yet. They're crazy as a team, but they're wonderfully consistent as a uniform.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, buy or sell number 3. Chris Delcani should say no to alternate uniforms, but yes to a whiteout at DKR once a year.
I kind of want to buy that one. You'll freak out an opponent and make them bring the colors, which they're not used to doing. And then you love your white so much, you wouldn't be changing anything. You wouldn't be altering. You'd be celebrating one time and saying, man, let's go icy whites at home. Yeah, I'll buy that. And I think Texas fans would be into that one.
That's been my opinion since this debate has been raging on all these years for alternate uniforms. We don't need another uniform. The away one is beautiful. Let's just wear it.
Yeah, no, I like it because the Cowboys are one of the white at home teams in the NFL, and they looked at as one of those, a little bit of different level, bluer blood kind of thing. That's what the Longhorns are. Yeah, do it.
All right, number 4. Buy or sell, Dave Aranda will not be able to pull Baylor out of this rut. He's fired by the end of next year.
I'm especially going to buy if you make it the end of next year. Yeah. I'll buy that. It does feel really bizarre right now. When you have that personality and you carry yourself like Dave Aranda does, it makes all the sense in the world when things are going right, when it's going well. But when you maintain that, it turns smug when you go the other way. And I don't know if Baylor fans are going to be able to deal with 2 full years of smug and then leave it alone. So, yeah, I'll buy.
I think this is an interesting point from Randy here. Whiteout at DKR with summer heat. Yeah, you make it that first September game.
There you go. And you know what? You could make it a non-con if you wanted to.
Yeah,
if you're skittish about doing it in conference, call one of those non-cons call the easiest of the non-cons and say, yo, Rice, bring your whites bring your colors. We're going to wear our whites. That's fine. Yeah, and then you make them wear the dark colors at your place in 100 and something degree heat. I like it. Let's do it.
There we go. Figuring it out on how
There
to
it
buy
is.
it. All right. Putting you on the spot with this one. You're
Yep.
going to the game, buy or sell. CJ Stroud, wheels and deals. You will watch the Texans beat the Steelers at NRG this Sunday.
Oh, you know what? I've got to sell. Hang on, let me see if I can put the hat back on without it burning.
Oh, there
I'm
it
gonna
is.
sell. I'm gonna sell because TJ Watt and that Steelers defense are going to put the Texans in a vice. I've also got a couple of Aggies I root for on that team. Offensive line with Mr. Moore, defensive line with Mr. Leal. So there's all kinds of reasons, but that defense is gonna mess with Stroud all day long. I cannot pick the Texans. I'm gonna have to pick the Steelers, so I am selling, sir.
All right.
How dare you even insinuate that could happen?
I had to put it out there.
That's all right. All right, there we go. Buy or sell. Ketch is off today, dealing with just needing a day off, but also there was like a dog situation, and we hope everybody's all right. Hope all the dogs are okay in the Ketchum family, and apparently there was like stuff to clean up. I don't know, like blood everywhere. I don't know.
Not a good scene.
Sounded bad. Hope everybody is good. So earlier we had Jason Suchel on because Ketch does not know, and frankly, I didn't know either. Like, what's the show like without Ketch? He got a little freaked out, and he thought, okay, well, let's make sure that a couple of the Orange Bloods guys jump on with him. Otherwise, he might just talk about the history of Aggie football all day. He might go anti-Kyle Umalang all day long, like a bunch of that. Bunch of yell leaders on bridges just all day long. No, of course that's not going to happen. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what you want. And thanks to almost 300 of you that are in the Specs chat right now, continue to let us know how good you think these Longhorns could be. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Scheduled for 120. Get you a little bonus of Anoir Richardson. There he is, at Anoir Richardson on Twitter. And nice enough to give me a little time today. How are you, sir?
What's it like to live in a world where you can finish your sentences and not be interrupted? Like, are you in shock right now? Like, do you need? Let's do this. Starter thought right now, Chad. Starter thought right now.
Anwar, the thing about Connor,
I was really thinking, what I was wanting to talk about as relates to Quinn. That did you feel a little bit more like Ketch is here? Like,
Hey,
does that help you?
You know what? Today I am drowning in like commas and predicates. There's just predicates everywhere. I don't even know what to do with them. I've been hooking stuff together that makes no sense. Just
Here's the thing now. You actually have like some time to fill because usually he gives you 15 minutes. He gives you 18 thoughts and then he tosses it back to you. You're like, I don't know what I'm talking about. You're just like coming up next on the crap bag. And now you're like, oh, snap. I got to finish the thought. What the hell?
I know. It's been crazy. It's been absolutely wild. But I've enjoyed it. The Specs chat has been jumping in and helping me out. I definitely want to get some of your thoughts on, and I'll kind of start where I ended with Jason earlier. But I'm asking Texas fans kind of how big they want to dream right now at 4-0. So the fill in the blank is they could blank. So realistically for you, from what you've seen, 4-0. They could
win it all.
Yeah. Could be all of it.
Yeah, win it all because, well, first of all, I'll start with this. I'll start with my complaint of the week, Chad, and then I'll work my way up. So my complaint of the week, I've said this a little bit on my show today, and I've fought with some of my guests who have been on there this week as well. Texas should be the number one team in the country, and bar none. And so when we look at the polls are basing it off of historic references, but they're not basing it on 2023. Because if it was just 2023, Texas has a better win on the road versus Alabama than Michigan and the wins that they have, or Georgia, the wins that they have. But because it's based off of the past and past achievements, then all of a sudden Texas is down. We're at, number 3. And I understand that's not a huge insult, but I'm just telling you like the flaw where the poll really is at this point. So for me, I would have Texas, if I had a vote, they would be number 1 in the country. So I'll start there. Second thing is when we start looking at the rest of this season, I mean, Kansas, it's what I had a guest on from the Action Network this morning. It was Colin Wilson from the Action Network, and he does a lot of stats and analysis. And I mean, he really broke it down that he's like, Kansas has one of the worst strength of schedules in the country. And he actually had it down as an 18, I believe it was 18.5 on the Action Network is what they had as what would the line should be, but said like this should be a game where Texas can score on every single drive. Like that's how good Texas is as compared to Kansas. So it's kind of like just telling me like don't buy into the like this Kansas things could be competitive kind of thing. He's like 18.5. So I look at Kansas win this week, and then of course to OU, which I feel like Texas is a better team than OU. And then when I start looking at the second half of the season, so there are potential trap games for sure. Like there's games where you can see yourself, you can talk yourself into like this could happen or that can happen. But realistically, once Texas gets to 6-0, it shouldn't happen. I don't think there's a team left that if Texas brings their A game and any team left on the schedule brings their A game, it's not good enough. It's just not in the regular season schedule. Texas is great on defense this season, has been good on offense, needs to be a little bit more consistent. But at the end of the day, the problem is, Chad, is that we watch it so with such a critical eye that sometimes it's hard to appreciate that, take a step back and they could be better in a couple of areas, but no team is perfect. So 4-0 is 4-0, and so if 4-0 beats the alternative. But when we start looking at what's left of the Big 12, Chad, what the teams that we thought might compete against Texas have fallen by the wayside. Like Texas Tech is horrible this year. I mean, they by every single metric that Texas Tech is a horrible team. So you throw them out. I mean, Kansas State has already got a loss. That's on there. That's there. So you don't know what to expect out of them. Again, competitive, but what does that really mean? They should be able to get through this. And then I think then it's now just about like, what you can do in the playoffs. And of course, you always, whenever you say word playoffs, you always think about the reference in your head, right? It's like it feels weird to say playoffs, but
as long as your voice even kind of squeaks, that more is in all of our heads. Playoffs.
Yeah, and so to me, when I start looking at it, they could go all the way, like and I see a path for that to happen. I see a path for this to happen that I didn't necessarily see before. And again, there's only going to be, when it's all said and done, there's only one true road game left on the schedule, and that's Iowa State. It's only one more game where these guys got to get on an airplane and go somewhere, and that's Iowa State. And everything else is in the state of Texas. Every game is here, so right. That works to their advantage. So I mean, I think it's on the table. It's just a matter of can they do that.
It's such an interesting discussion that you bring up early on about kind of that eyeball test. I've always been fascinated by, now look, when a team brings back the quarterback, like 10 starters on offense, the whole defensive front, like, if Tebow and Florida win the whole thing and Tebow and the whole group come back, it's like, okay. But this notion, I keep hearing it from all kinds of people. Hey, as long as Georgia wins. And I'm like, wait a minute. You mean if Georgia wins every game by a field goal, it doesn't matter? Yeah. Like they just get to do that. Look, I'm all for the NFL system over the college system, Anoir. But if you're going to have a pageant, have a damn pageant. And that's what this thing is. It's about eyeballs. And I agree with you. There's an argument I can make for Texas, to my eyes, has been more impressive overall than any team I've seen. You could probably make the same argument for Washington. If you really wanted to, you could say, their schedule's awful, I think, so far. Yeah. But they jump and they pop, and that's what a pageant's about sometimes. So it's weird to me, though. It feels like Georgia could do, and think about Georgia's schedule. Like, who is
Georgia? They've played UT Martin, Ball State, South Carolina, which was 24-14, and UAB. How is that number one over Texas going on the road and beating Alabama?
Think about what you just said. They're allowed to take advantage of that goofy SEC thing and schedule 4 hunks of garbage, not 3, correct. 4. They get to schedule 4 of them. And I know they've got Georgia Tech late, and that's technically they don't schedule that one. So I understand. They don't have they have the Georgia Tech game as a rival, but they get to get 3 games to mess with, and that's what they did with them, and you're rewarding them for that.
Michigan. Let me give you Michigan.
Yeah.
They beat East Carolina. They beat
Right.
UNLV. They beat Bowling Green. They beat Rutgers.
Right. There you go.
I mean, so that's what I'm saying. Like, so Texas with the same record, but goes on the road and beats Alabama, and it's like, you guys need to earn it. Like, do they? Do they?
No,
Because I feel like they've earned it, but it's a historical thing, and that's the thing that kind of, as a guy who was a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter at one time, I take voting very seriously. You know,
Right.
it's something that does mean something to me. I know it's a little thing, but it does. Like, I don't. When they do like the preseason Big 12 stuff, like, you know, the teams, I never voted that because I don't know what the left guard at Kansas State looks like. Like, I'm not gonna play a stupid guessing game and just, you know, let me look through the internet and see what everyone else says, and then maybe get a consensus. Like, no, I don't know, so I'm not gonna participate. I'll do the polls because I can do the polls, but there's something that's specific I won't participate in. So I take the voting thing seriously. And so when I look at it, I'm like, you guys aren't taking it seriously. You're not doing your oath as for what it should be. It's called the 2023 polls. That's what it's called. Not like the last 3-year polls. What do you think? It's 2023. So it's just a nitpick of mine. I'm sorry, rant over.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It is weird. By the way, interesting chat here before we continue. Chris says that's why I said it was a mistake for Texas to schedule the non-con that they have over the last decade. You're not treated for who you beat. I wouldn't agree with that in totality, but I get how a fan base would have that thought when you let Georgia do that and you let Michigan do what you just talked about. And you're like, well, you're giving them – that's like at the pageant in 2023 saying, well, you know, last year, 2022 – Miss Alabama was so hot. I know, but she's the one standing here. You're giving the credit. What? Like, I get that every year you expect Miss California to be hot. So then Miss California's got to be a little extra hot versus what Miss Rhode Island's got to look. I get that part, but come on now. We've got to.
And honestly, Chad, over the next 2 weeks, and we'll see what it looks like, but Kansas is ranked. OU is ranked. Yeah. If Texas beats these next 2 opponents and they beat 3 ranked opponents and they're not a number 1, I will tell you my call out will be very loud to all the voters who are out there, because at that point you're just being egregious. Like, at that point it's you're not understanding how you should be voting. And I hear people saying like they've gone on different shows and try to talk about it. Well, that's why you come on my show, because I'm gonna give you the truth on that whole thing. These guys are scheduled crap, and they're not adjusting quick enough to where Texas is at. And yes, Texas guy too. Texas, don't make Anoir call you out, because I will call you out. I call out everybody.
That's right.
And when Texas guy, when I say anybody can get it, I don't give a damn.
And by the way, if you haven't checked out the old-fashioned sports show, what the hell are you doing? Weekdays, 8 a.m. Right here on Orange Bloods Live. By the way, Anoir, to just help you make your point, let's watch how the next 2 weeks are affected. Here are the opponents for Georgia and Michigan the next 2 weeks. Okay. Georgia's going at Auburn, and they host Kentucky.
Okay.
Michigan is at Nebraska, at Minnesota.
Ugh, that's 2 wins.
There you have it.
There
you have it. So I would back up.
Listen, if they don't at least jump Michigan after 2 weeks, if they're able to get the wins, then this whole thing is just crap. I'll just be honest with you. And all these voters suck.
I agree with you. I was talking to somebody this week who said, man, isn't it crazy how many different teams are getting votes as first place? And I thought, actually, it probably should be more. Like, it's 6 out of 7, but also they're not spread out enough. 55 AP voters are just like, Georgia, it's got to be Georgia. It does, for sure. Like, I'm questioning the 3 that liked Florida State, but I believe in their right to at least do it, because there's a resume there. They beat LSU and they made them look silly for a big hunk of that game, and then they went to Clemson and got the win. Georgia hadn't done anything close to that.
No, and it's not like they've been curb stomping people when it's all said and done. At least win by 60 to say, well, they played a little sorry teams, but they win it by 6. I mean, at least OU, for what it's worth, has beaten the hell out of at least 2 opponents where you say, like, where you're like, all right, well, that's what a good team should do. At least that you do something like that, not this. I don't know. It's just it's a rant.
I'm with you. By the way, it has been bothering me. So before we continue, I feel like I'm supposed to know what's on your shirt and I can't come up with it. Hang on. Oh, okay. It's like a Scarface retrospective shirt. Okay. All right, I got you. That top scene, I just wasn't quite getting it. I get it now.
You say hello to my little friend.
I got
say
you.
hello to my little friend, and then the shooting starts. That's Tony Montana. It's that classic scene at the end.
Okay, I got you. By the way, here's where I admit something I shouldn't admit. When you first came on, I thought it was Sammy Davis Jr. Then I thought it was Gene Kelly. Then I thought it might be Jerry Lewis. Then I thought it was Ralph Cramden.
Jerry Lewis.
All of those things flashed through my head. I'm like, who is that? Why am I not getting it? And then, it was Tony Montana.
You could have gone if you went stereotype, the only one I would have given you would have been Sammy Davis Jr. Because I don't think there's too many brothers rolling around with Jerry Lewis shirts. If you just had to, I would just give you the license to get a little stereotypical and say, I don't know if Armor looks like a Jerry Lewis fan. Like, I don't see him trying to donate to the telethon.
You know what? I never assume, Anwar. You can just be a Jerry Lewis guy and fight back with me and go, Chad, I'm a Jerry Lewis dude. I am.
No, it was Scarface. It was just I wore this morning, a little Scarface stuff. And some of the other things, if you can't see, so this is the Alabama credential that I had from the game. This over here is a Texas OU from last year.
There you go.
So I tell everybody on my show, like, this is your happy space over here.
Yeah.
If you just ever get tired of looking at me, look over here for your happiness and for your peace. And then other stuff is just Hall of Fame voters, inductee stuff, and then of course the Buck stuff just to make you happy.
Oh yeah, no, that makes me smile. Seeing the Bucks flag is great. Well, and speaking of that, I wanted to ask you about kind of your travels, past and future, because you just came back from Bama. Mm-hmm. You spent your last time in Waco covering a game. Like, are you okay with that? Have you processed all those feelings? Because I'm sure Waco was just like a destination for you.
I was indifferent towards the Waco. Most people know, Chad, the only city in the Big 12 I never want to step foot in again is Lubbock. Okay, so Waco is a business trip. Waco is just coming off the interstate, getting off on MLK, and going to the parking lot, doing the game, and then getting back on the interstate. I've never really got a chance to really explore Waco. I've been to health camp before, and that's really about it. So I'm indifferent towards Waco. I know Alex Dunlap has a lot of feelings. Ketch has feelings because he's from there. But honestly, I'm just indifferent. Lubbock is the place that to me is the armpit of Texas. Like, that's the place where I never want to step foot in again. Everyone knows my Lubbock story. I won't necessarily do it, rehash it again. It flatlands. It smells in the morning. Like, I mean, it's just a throwback in time in some ways. Like, I don't, there's the hotels are like average. It's just nothing really there for me. So Lubbock is like, that's the place where I've told myself that's the only place I've really dreaded. Because even West Virginia, I would stay in Pittsburgh. So I try. It's like, okay, Lubbock though. I mean, there's no hiding.
So in terms of what's coming up, then you just got to check Bama off the list. I'm assuming you hadn't been to Bryant-Denny before. So now that has been checked off, is there one that's blinking at you that's coming up where you're like, oh, that's going to be fun?
No. So the stadiums I'm looking forward to that people to say are really good. I've heard LSU has a really good environment. They said it's almost similar to what the Bama environment was. And the Bama environment was probably the best I've ever seen, pro or college. I've never seen anything quite like that. And I've been to every pro stadium, and I've been to a lot of college stadiums. The music, the atmosphere. So every time there was a break in there where you guys that had a TV timeout or anything to that effect, it was like a concert. I mean, it's like the lights went off. Next thing you know, the lights are blaring. It's a party. They've got speakers around there, so it's a surround sound. Like in DKR, the speakers come out the south end zone, and so it just kind of goes out that way. But they've got speakers all around, and so now all of a sudden you're surround sounding that thing. It was a concert. They got a guy with like a microphone, like it was like a DJ that would come out and do stuff. They had, like, when you do the wave, they did it with their cell phone lights around the stadium. I mean, they had hip hop, but they had country, like they had all kinds of stuff. Best in college environment I've ever seen, hands down. So I heard LSU is really good, and really looking forward to see that. I'm told Ole Miss has a really a fun atmosphere as well. So I would definitely be looking forward to going to that one. I want to go back to the Swamp. I haven't been to the Swamp in years. And that one is a fun environment. That's an older environment, older stadium. So I'm really kind of excited, about that. And everything else will be kind of being different. The trip that I like, Chad, that's unfortunate because the team's not that good, is Vanderbilt, because I get to go to Nashville. And
I've heard it's a great trip, man.
Oh, Nashville's so much fun.
Yeah.
I have Nashville is like a cleaner version of New Orleans. It's just, you get to have that much fun, but you don't get to see that much vomit and that many rats rolling around, so it's a cleaner version of that thing. But Nashville's a fun city as well. So the team's not that good, but at least the city is good.
And just for the record, have you ever been to Kyle Field?
I have not. And I actually am looking forward to it. I want to see that. I've heard Kyle Field gets pretty rowdy, and I want to, okay. So I know Texas fans have tried to see. So before this whole thing happened, where this rivalry is renewed, Texas fans would get on my ass, Chad, because I would say this game needs to be played, and they would tell me, I never want to go back to College Station. The Aggies are this and blah, 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 right? And all the weird Aggie traditions, which they are kind of weird. Like I don't understand the dog thing. Like, I don't understand how the dog is buried outside, but the dog has to be facing, like, inside, like has to face the stadium or something like that. So the dog can somehow see through somehow, which is, it's a weird, okay. And the Aggie yell thing is a little weird, but college football needs these rivalries. Yes, thank you. But I don't.
Yell leaders on a bridge.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Oh, it's different. No doubt.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But college football needs rivalries, man. And at the end of the day, Florida needs Florida State. Florida needs Miami. We need these rivalries, even if they're not in conference. Even that kind of stuff needs to happen. So I'm glad that this thing is back, and so I'm actually looking forward to going there and just seeing the rivalry firsthand. I've never seen it. All I've seen is the highlights, and I know everything about the Justin Tucker kick, but I haven't seen this thing in person. And so I want to experience it. Like, I want to be able to go experience it, hang out with Billy Lucci, and have a good time. I don't know, maybe Billy may have too good of a time for me. I maybe need to cut it short, like at 1 a.m. when Billy's still going strong. But I definitely am looking forward to that, though.
Yeah, that atmosphere is going to be incredible. First time back in Austin is going to be amazing too. So yeah, you got some really cool stuff, and you're going to the Big House next year, right? Texas at Michigan.
Oh yeah. Ann Arbor is.
Have you ever been up there?
Yeah, I when I covered the Lions, they were the company I worked for out of the Booth newspapers that transitions into M Live. Was based out of Ann Arbor, even though I was in Detroit. And so I've been to Ann Arbor a bunch of times.
Okay.
And so, I like Ann Arbor. I don't know if anyone's ever been there, but it's a nice little trip. That big, to be able to go to something historic like that is going to be pretty awesome. At some point, a couple of years from now, I get to go to Ohio State. I hear that's a little bit weirder, though.
That's a little stranger. Yeah, that's a little weird. I've heard the Big House can be similar to DKR. Like, if the fans aren't as interested, it can feel a little flat. But when they're engaged and they get their claws in, it's a pretty special place.
Yeah, I haven't been to a game there yet. I've seen it, obviously, a lot of games of theirs. But yeah, I mean, the good part for where Texas is that, Chad, to kind of your point that you get into, is that the games will be entertaining. And I think there's much more to look forward to from a conference schedule than there's ever been before. And it's been a very long time. The non-conference schedule as well. And now, because 12 teams get in, now all of a sudden, if you do suffer a non-conference loss, it's not the death blow that it probably used to be. So before it was a death blow. So before I'm like, get all these tough teams off the schedule. You don't even need that anymore. But, and I'm still kind of like that way. But now going forward, let's see what happens with the 8 teams in the SEC, see how many of those guys get in. But now, all of a sudden, to your point, I'm much more excited about covering games. I was much more excited about going to Bama, and I'll be much more excited about some of these other contests that we're going to in the future than the Big 12 schedule. I mean, I've asked this question, Chad, and I want to ask it to you. When Texas and OU leave the Big 12, what's the biggest marquee game in the conference?
Left in the Big 12, you mean?
Yep.
Man, it's just working through it in my head. I guess it involves TCU. In the old days, I would have said like Art Briles had the thing that heated up with TCU. I want to say Baylor TCU, but the state, especially the state of Baylor right now, doesn't make me go there. Oklahoma State and somebody, maybe. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what the absolute one is. Like if you made me pick one and say, this is it, sign your name on it. I mean, I could give you goofy reasons like, well, TCU and Oklahoma State always have interesting uniforms. That doesn't make it a great game every time. So my gut, and see, Oklahoma State is such a mess right now. Like my gut would be a combination of Oklahoma State, TCU, Baylor. Those are the 3 that immediately popped into my head, but I'm not sure if I'm right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'd say. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what's the one that if both teams were undefeated, game day has to show up. And I mean, that's a little bit of a different argument because if we've at least seen the undefeated, right? Like if it's TCU at Oklahoma State, they're both undefeated, they're both ranked. I'd tell game day they need to at least think about it, right? Depending on whatever else is out there. So it's going to be situational versus some of these other things we've seen, like this incredible rating that the last Colorado game got because of what Deion's just got going there. It's just, honestly, it might be Deion. If Deion stays at Colorado, Anoir, is it Colorado TCU? Is it, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, most people are saying Utah versus BYU is what it seems to be in the chat.
Oh, you know what? I forgot the Holy War is going to be fully inside the Big 12. Rivalry-wise, that'd be my favorite because I love the Holy War. But
that's it though. And there's not a lot left. So that, and you gotta hope that both of those teams are good. And if not, it is what it is. But yeah, it won't have the same ring. I can tell you that much. It won't have the same ring as the Texas OU. That's for damn sure.
Well, if people haven't seen it, did you catch that note that Kyle Umlang threw out on Twitter about the rating?
What did he say?
Oh my God. And if for once it actually wasn't an insult to the Aggies, it was an insult to the rest of the Big 12. It was about the ratings for Texas Baylor, for Cincinnati, Oklahoma, and then the rest of the Big 12.
I did see that. It was really bad. It was really bad.
The drop-off was incredible. By the way, we have a super chat in here that involves both of us. So let's throw this in. It is the newly minted queen of the show, South End Zone Queen, super chat, $4.99. Afternoon, fellas. Chad and Anoir, how come y'all couldn't work out a OB happy hour at the Sign Bar? Love y'all. Can we get one at a bar with cocktails?
Okay, so here was the issue with. Let me explain what happened. So we tentatively talked about doing a happy hour before the season, Chad. This is it. So I'll tell you what happened because I know exactly where South End was going. So, and then we also have this deal with Pint House Brewery as well. And so because we have Pint House Brewery as a partner with us, the challenge became, hey, can we still do a happy hour that involves alcohol that doesn't involve Pint House Brewery? Now, South End Zone Queen and I are kind of the same. Like, well, we don't really drink a lot of beer, so we drink cocktails. So but Pint House Brewery doesn't serve cocktails, don't serve vodka or rum or anything to that effect. And so then there just became I don't know what we do. And then we didn't do anything. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. So maybe South End Zone Queen, maybe what happens is we do it at Pint House, and then you and I just sit there and tailgate in the parking lot, and then we just drink, and we will drink, and we go in and out, and drink, and go in and out, and drink, and go in and out.
Well, what if we start at Pint House and then go to Sign Bar afterwards? Get a little bit of both.
An OB pub crawl.
Just thought. Pub crawl. The OB pub crawl.
I'd be up for that. I just wanted to make sure, because I'm up for a good happy hour. I just want to make sure, like, you know.
Make sure. All right, South End Zone Queen, what do you think about that? I know she'll hit me up.
Let's try.
And by the way, I didn't see you this morning on my show, South End Zone Queen. I'm glad you're here in the afternoon.
Do you know South End Zone Queen, by the way? Do you know? Have you met her yet?
I do know her. I do know her.
Okay.
Yes, I do know. I mean, yes, on a personal level, yes, I do know her.
You do.
Not like we boys and we hang out kind of thing, but yeah, I do know her. She seems to be a good person.
All right. Fair enough. I have not met the Queen yet. I'm looking forward to it. All right.
We're connected on social media. So it's like you see pictures of someone. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, she could be crazy for all I know. I mean,
could be
like probably like at least 3/4 of the people in the Specs chat. So who knows? But she seems pretty cool. She seems should be pretty up and up. What else we got for me, man? I'm here.
All right. Before I let you go, give me a prediction thought. You got a win and a cover for Texas this week, or you think? Because I'm thinking win but not cover. Where are you?
I think, yeah, I want to go win and cover, to be honest with you. And I think once I spoke to Colin from the Action Network, and I'm hoping he doesn't talk me out of it, but I'm hoping someone on the outside looking in gives me a better perspective. But I think that at the end of the day, I know Jalen Daniels is a threat in many areas, but I know this defense is pretty damn good. I don't know who blocks Tavondre Sweat for 4 quarters. I'm not quite sure who can do it. I'm not quite sure who can stand up to Byron Murphy for 4 quarters, or Vernon Broughton when he comes in. Like in to block all those guys on the defensive line, they could get penetration and affect him. As far as that is concerned, then it makes things a little bit more difficult. Jalen Daniels will make plays. That's going to happen. You got to expect that. He's a good player. So there's going to be some breakdowns. Those things will occur. But I think this defense is good enough to rebound. I think this defense is good enough to go ahead and do what they need to do as relates to that. So the key, honestly, is, and one of the things that we talked about is like, on the Texas defense, so Kansas does a lot of different things, then to put guys in motion. And the biggest thing when you're putting guys in, as I explained to me, you're putting guys in motion, is that, this is Colin gave me all this today, so that's why I feel really smart. But you put guys in motion, it essentially is trying to then get your defensive guys to move. So offensive guys moving here, doing this and this, and then you want your defenders to respond. So now the quarterback knows, this is what's going on. Key is defense can't move. And so all that pre-motion stuff, defense doesn't move. It doesn't give the quarterback a really good look as to how the defense is going to respond. And that's what they did effectively last year, was really not moving, not blinking, and not responding to all the pre-snap motion. And they were going ahead, and through that, they were able to curb stomp them. So I do think Texas will have the similar success. I think Texas will be ready for Kansas because, it's interesting. More people have talked about, especially to the players, especially to Sarkisian, they've talked about 2021 more than they talked about 2022. Like everyone's jumped over the butt whooping that happened last year to get back to the loss that happened at DKR 2 years ago. So I think that the Texas players will be a little bit motivated. I do think that they'll come in with, a little bit edge to prove. And that's still, at the end of the day, they're the better team. So I don't have a score right now, Chad. I'm probably somewhere like a 38-17-ish kind of thing, 31-17. I'm going to go back and forth between that. I don't know if they score more than 20-ish. But yeah, I think this ends up being a game that you go into it and saying, "Woo, anything could happen. I don't know," and then you walk out of it saying, I don't know why we made that into such a big deal.
Yeah, right. All right, before I let you go, we were talking earlier about schedules and what's coming in the SEC, but what's coming in an expanded playoff and all that. I was talking earlier about this committee meeting they're going to have today, maybe talk about future, kind of the future of the 12-team playoff. Do you have any strong feelings about the 12-team playoff? I know some people have their things of conference champion should get you in, or it all should be at large. How many group of fives? Do you have any real strong feelings about how the 12 will be built?
That's a really good question. I mean, I do think there's something to be said for if you win your conference getting in. It happens in the NFL, and yeah, you've seen before, Chad. We've seen guys that teams that have 7-9 record that maybe make the playoffs, and you say to yourself, that's not fair, but that's life, right? So there's a part of me that thinks the fair part is, hey, if you win your conference championship, you should get in. I think that would make sense. More than likely, you get in anyway. So maybe that you don't need that edict. And then outside of that, I don't think I have anything strong as relates to it,
Okay.
Chad. Like,
you're okay with you're okay with like a 1 G5 getting in every year?
Ooh, yeah. You know what? Why not? Because you know what, I want to see. I want to see. There's always. You remember when UCF was rolling, and there was the wonder, like, well, okay, well, what, why not? Like, and what would have happened had we had a chance to see UCF at that point? Like, we don't know. And so, yeah, I'm actually okay. I don't need, this doesn't need to be the wine and cheese crowd. Make it into the playoffs. Okay. And if you make it into the playoffs, like, let's let everybody play, and who you never know. Give everyone a shot. Don't just make it into this is the big boy club, and then and the smaller guys don't get it. No, bring the smaller guys in, because you never know what might happen. And yeah, they may get curb stomped, but who knows? That's what football is about. That's what football is for. I guarantee you, one of those schools is going to have an upset here or there, and it's going to throw everything out of whack. So yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's funny. I just thought of a team from back in the day I hadn't thought of, and maybe it's because I'm talking to you and I know you're such good friends with him. But what would that Sean King Tulane team have done?
Oh my gosh!
Right? Yeah. Like let's find out. And those are cool little stories. And just like in basketball, they don't have to go win the whole thing. That's not the point. None of the favorite like crazy 15/2s or 14. Nobody goes and wins the whole thing after that. But
yes,
but doing it is cool.
No, it is. All right, JD asked me something. Hey, Blake, can I ask you something? From the stuff that the graphics from this morning that I had on my show, is that like in queue somewhere, like in your stuff, like the stuff that Aaron would have been looking at? Is that all gone?
They're all gone. I don't have the ones from this morning. Sorry.
Okay. Good. I had a tongue twister thing, and in fact, why don't we do this super chat? I'm gonna see if I can get it to Blake real quick, and I'm gonna see if you guys could figure this thing out.
Okay. What you got? Like you're doing like
this is. Hold on, I'm gonna do it right now. Let's do the super chat.
Okay, we got some super chats to hit here. Texas boy super chat $1.99. TCU showed us last year what happens to G5s getting in. Well, that is rude.
They beat Michigan.
That is rude. Yes, come on. They're not I understand on the championship game, but come on now. Also, there were a couple other super chats. Oh yeah, right here. So the South End Zone Queen is back. $9.99. What about an OB happy hour for OU game at the happiest hour in Dallas? Okay. And says, and then Anoir and Chad could maybe meet the Queen in person. Oh, okay.
Okay. So Texas. First of all, Blake, when you get that, can you put that? Okay, get that ready. I'm gonna do that. So she said Texas OU. The Texas OU weekend.
She was saying Texas OU at the happiest hour in Dallas. Maybe a place to look up when you're heading to Dallas.
So I got so just so you know, Chad, when I get to do Texas OU weekend Friday, when I get it, first of all, I never drive. I usually have some friends that drive because I stay downtown and I just take the train in, right?
Okay.
And so I take the train to the fairgrounds. So I start around 11 o'clock with a roadie because I don't have to drive. So and I have a couple of those. Then I've got, then I'll do and I go to a party that usually starts around 6. Then Clarence Hill has a party, and I usually roll up there about 9. There's been many times that I have stumbled in into the fairgrounds, and I'm sitting there and I'm focused. But boy, I'm holding on for dear life right now. I'm like, Jesus Christ, let's get this game over. It's rough. All right, Blake, do you have that?
I got it.
All right. So this is what JD's referring to. He's going to put it on the screen, Chad.
Okay.
I want to see if this blows your head. Are you ready? Go.
All right, here we go.
Chad.
Here we go. A man steals a $100 bill from a store's register. Then he buys $70 worth of goods at that store using the $100 bill and gets $30 change. How much money did the store lose? Wow. And gets $30 change. Well, the store lost $100. Right? He stole the $100. He bought $70 worth of stuff, and he gets $30 of change. I'm assuming he walks out with the change, so they lost $100.
Can I tell you that I got 200. People told me 200. First we thought it was 200. Then we thought some people said it was 30. Then other people said it was 70. Other people said it was 170. Like we totally. We had so many different answers, so many variations of answers. I'll be honest with you. I think we settled on 100.
Okay,
but there was people who were convinced that was actually wrong.
I think it's 100 because he leaves with the $70 worth of goods and the $30 change, and the store gets the $100 bill back.
Yeah, I think that's the right.
See, look, we start to give different answers. One person saying 130, another person saying 200. Some people are saying 100.
That's bizarre. I haven't really thought of it. The key to the mind game is that it's $100 that started out in the store, right? Yes. It's $100 of their money. He takes it, then he buys $70 worth of stuff, walks out with the $30 change. How much did they lose? They're really only losing the change, aren't they?
And the goods.
But they lost the goods too, right? They lose the That's
why it's 100. They get the $100 bill back, but they lose the $70 worth of goods and the $30 change. Right.
Yeah, right. Exactly. They lose the $30 he walks out with, and they lost $70 in clothes. So they still, they lose $100.
Look at the different answers.
Everybody's freaking
in the
out.
Chat right now.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Everyone has got a different answer. 170. I saw I'm telling you, this literally had my show on tilt for the longest period of time because I could not get anyone to absolutely agree on it. I think we finally agreed on 100, but I'm telling you, we still had people that said that we were absolutely wrong.
Well, and also, if you want to get real technical with the way it's asked at the end, how much money did the store lose? That's $30 money because you're not losing. If you don't consider losing the goods the same as losing the money, you lost $30, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
No. Wait a minute. But wait, hold on. But wait a minute. It was $100 bill at one point. The fact that it turns into $70 worth of clothes is immaterial. It's also material in a way. Same way. Now you got me doing it. But no, I think we're still back to $100. It was a $100 bill, and by the end of everything, it is no longer a $100 bill. $30 of it walked out the door in money form, and 70 walks out in clothes form. So they still lost $100.
Ninth graders across the nation are stumbling over this on their test right now.
I know. Okay, so train A with Anoir on board leaves at 9 a.m. headed to the Cotton Bowl.
Yes.
If the train, I can't figure it out. I have no idea.
Yes. And I'm telling you, there's still people who don't agree. It's a lot.
That's so good.
Listen, look, the guy said the store. JD said the store they lost 170. You guys are overthinking it. 70 in grocery, 30 in cash.
Yes.
Another ATX Big Rich says they lost 100.
Yeah.
Big Rich, email me, please. By the way, onward@orangebloods.com. Can you email me today?
Oh my God.
Yes. Anyway, I had that on my show. JD mentioned it, and I wanted to bring it up to you. And as you will see, people will continue to debate this. They're probably going to debate it for the rest of the show.
Very divisive.
They probably will. And I just want to thank you not only for giving me extra time, you've actually left us with like a mind game that may fill the last hour.
None of y'all graduated from UT with these guesses.
He's right. None of us graduated from UT.
Oh my God, that is fantastic. Anoir, I appreciate it, man. Have a great rest of your afternoon. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, guys.
Oh man, Anoir Richardson coming in with the knowledge, coming in with predictions and breakdowns and stories of great venues and stadiums. And
Chris, we never promised this. We never
Chris,
promised that there would be no math. Sometimes there is math.
Yeah, Chris, I assumed there'd be no math. Hey, we do talk numbers and stats and stuff like that on the show. All right, as we hit the 2 o'clock hour, that means it's almost crap bag time. There's a lot of emotions in the crap bag today. But first, let me tell you a little bit about sinus and snoring specialists. We've talked about them before. If you are experiencing one of the worst things in the world, sinus and snoring specialists can help you. And that is just a bad night's sleep. Do you sleep like crap? That's the question. Do you sleep bad for whatever the reason? Either you're the one snoring, the person into bed with you is snoring, you got sinus infections and sinus headaches that drive you crazy, or maybe you're one of these people that has that allergy thing that the Austin area is known for and it's driving you insane, or maybe it's all of that. Sinus and snoring specialists can help you. You scan that QR code. Don't let this stuff continue to get worse. I went in 2017 and I got all kinds of things taken care of. They got rid of my allergies for good. They got rid of my moderate obstructed sleep apnea. I have a dental device that I wear every night. That was the last step in the process. By the way, shout out to Dr. Eckert, the dentist who made my device. I'm going to go get that checked this week to make sure. That's why I love Dr. Slaughter and sinus and snoring specialists, because they're all about taking care of you throughout the process. They're going to be checking numbers with that sleep test, making sure that they're seeing the numbers that they want to see. They're not just going to have you come in and one time and then you're done. They cast you out. Oh, that's it. Good luck. No, they're going to keep monitoring the situation. They want it to be as good as it can be. And that is why they are the best at what they do. Surgical and non-surgical options that other places just don't have. So check them out. There's your QR code. It's sinussnoringent.com. You can also go 512-601-0303. Let them know you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. Sinus and snoring specialists feel clear, rested, and healthy. All right, we are to the 2 o'clock hour. Again, no Ketch today. He's taken the day off. We hope he's had a good, relaxing day, and hopefully that situation with the dog didn't make it less relaxing. Nothing worse than having a day off when you really don't feel like it was a day off, right? Something happens, somebody gets hurt, car gets broken, something goes wrong that you weren't expecting. We hope Ketch is not going through that. Had a lot of good Longhorn talk today. Texas getting ready for Kansas. Texas fans dreaming big. A lot of you Texas fans are in that group that says, hey, they could win it all. They could get to the playoff. And you know what? Number 3 team in the country, still undefeated. They absolutely could. We will just see.
Chad, are we sure Ketch didn't go to Juarez?
I'm not certain of that. I have not heard from him today. First day in a while, I've not heard from a weekday that I haven't heard from Ketch in a long time, in a couple months at least. I don't know. And you know what? Tex guy too, smart ass, poor Ketch. The smell of sheep finally broke him. I live in Elgin, Texas, and he's in the Woodlands. The smell could not have gotten there. There's no way, no matter how bad the sheep smell is. Good.
Chris Nelson has big dreams about the Longhorns this season, Chad.
Going to the Super Bowl. There you go. And you know what? Here we go. Teta Peta 1. If Chad has 25 sheep, how many hooves does he have? Wow. Okay. There it is. And this is probably the best guess. Ketch is probably at Whataburger or Juarez. One of those two, Sandman.
Or both. What about the Whataburger in Juarez?
Could be a Whataburger in Juarez. I think that might be a double lane Whataburger now. I think they've made that into a double lane, the one in Juarez. All right, since we are past the 2 o'clock hour, let's get you a little crap bag. And I'll start with a little Aggie update because there's emotions everywhere. And one of them, a lot of emotions in Aggie land today because of Connor Wigman. He is out for the season. This was a weird story, the way it developed. I honestly don't know every little detail. Let's see if we can go back, though, and retrace a little bit. Let's go back to Monday. So Monday, Jimbo Fisher does his press conference. I had not listened to it when we started the show, but in his press conference, he was asked, "Hey, you got an update on Connor Wegman?" And he matter-of-factly says, "Oh yeah, he's day to day, and we'll just see how it is. We'll see if things swell up or how he's feeling, and if he's good to go, he'll go." That was the answer on Monday, early day, midday. Then by the time we get done with the show, 2:00 hour, some chats start coming in from you nice folks on the Specs chat because A, you're trying to update us on the stories, but B, I think you care enough about me as a human and an Aggie that you want to tell me when you see these updates. And somebody shot in a message, "Hey, Chad, I just saw Wegman 2 to 4 weeks. That sucks." And I'm like, okay, you're right. If that's right, it does suck. So I mentioned that late in the show and figure, well, I'll go check out the stories and the press conference. Well, I couldn't find a story that said anything like that. And then I go listen to Jimbo and I'm like, wait a minute. He said day to day. Well, then by yesterday, stories started to develop about this thing could be worse than first thought. And then there's even discussion kind of behind the scenes that maybe we had one of those circumstances where Connor Wegman's family did not want the information to get out. It had not been processed through yet, and somehow it got out. But by this morning, before we go on the show, Jimbo Fisher's already has now told ESPN that yes, indeed, he is out the whole year. Houston Chronicle's getting some I guess breaking story credit for talking about the severity of it. But basically now it's a leg injury, a little more serious than a normal sprain. Jimbo did say it wasn't a high ankle sprain, but now there's talk that it might be a weight-bearing bone and it might be a fracture. But either way, Connor Wegman's out for the rest of the year. Hopefully, it wasn't one of those situations where a family didn't want something to get out and then it gets out. But that happens. That does happen. I understand those things. And it's one of those things, Blake, in the modern time. I mean, there's no way I could sit here on a YouTube show on Orange Bloods Live and try to argue against the idea of insider stuff. Mm-hmm. There's no way I could do that. Yeah. But it's just one of those difficult things to try to cover it. You got to try to cover it the right way. You got to try to, on some level care about the personal side, but I could understand you got to
cover your bases with the family. If you get that inside information, I think you're in a position where you can contact them and make sure they're on the same page.
Yeah, if you can, but there's also going to be some insider people that don't have Connor Wegman's family's phone number.
Sure.
They're going to hear the story and feel like they can go with it. But anyway, we'll see what the Aggies look like without Wegman moving forward. So it's going to be
a little taste of it last week. Yeah. Not too bad.
Max Johnson looked all right. The issue is going to be how much can you find enough run game away from the quarterback's feet? Because Wegman gave you a little bit of that. Max Johnson's a little more of a stay-in-the-pocket guy. But the Aggies did run the ball well against Auburn. All three of their running backs look pretty good. Let's see if they can keep that going against Arkansas. Arkansas has put up some good fights in the last couple weeks. Good fight against BYU. Good fight against LSU. Not wins, but good fights. Can they do the same thing against A&M? It's another 11 a.m. kick, sleepy time kickoff. It's at Jerry World. Normally there's some good energy in that building, but the 11 a.m. kick is tough to maybe generate it. So
that's a game where weird things happen to that Arkansas A&M game going back the last decade.
Yeah. Even though the Aggies have won all but one of them, you're right. It always gets weird. Me as an Aggie, I feel like A&M should have lost like 3 more of those games, even though they've only lost 1. Yeah. It always felt like I'd come out of it going, how in the world did they win that game? I have no idea. So we'll see what happens. 11 a.m. kick for A&M and Arkansas. The other emotional quarterback story in the crap bag today is the New York Jets. Lots of emotions. Let's try to process this for people wearing green. You thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be your quarterback. Zach Wilson is your quarterback. That's got to be tough. That has got to be tough. But Blake, I don't know if you saw it. Everybody and their mama is commenting on this thing. First off, let's tell you what they've done. They have now signed Trevor Siemian to the practice squad. That's a real thing. That's a real. And that's because Matt Ryan told him he's happy wearing suits and doing TV and not getting crushed anymore. He's out.
I respect that.
Matt Ryan out. Also, apparently, Zach Wilson has played to such a level that even Joe Namath had to comment and said, I've had enough of Zach Wilson. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe. Way to help out.
Joe.
So Joe says this. Then, of course, even though he's not in action anymore, Aaron Rodgers still goes on the Pat McAfee show every week and does his interview.
Yep.
So he goes on the interview and says, guys need to stop talking. They need to grow up. Former players need to stop talking. And everybody just needs to grow up and move forward. And I'm thinking, including maybe you, because you're adding to it right now. You're not helping. Are you helping? I have no idea. Yeah. But Aaron Rodgers, scheduled interview, he's a little emotional.
There might be someone else en route. Maybe it's just taking him a while. I'm trying to figure out. Maybe Colt's on his way up there. He's on his 4-by and he hasn't been able to get to New York yet.
You know what? He should be on the way. And he can get there quickly. Somebody should have called him immediately. By the way, PonchoOutdoors.com.
Yeah, maybe he's just fishing. I don't know.
Great church. Could be just fishing. Could be fishing. In fact, it got so bad in Jetland. Did you hear who wrote them a letter asking for attention?
Who?
Oh, that's right. Ketch isn't here, and I'm going to say the name, and then the Specs chat may melt. Colin Kaepernick, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Just saying the name Colin Kaepernick can freak some people out. He is 35 years old. He wrote him a note. And
the Jets did not reach out to him.
He
reached out to the Jets.
Jets did not reach out to him. Now, here's how we know about it. It's a very modern story. Colin Kaepernick wrote a note on September 21st, something like that. He wrote a note to the Jets saying, hey, I've been working out. I'm in shape. I'm willing to come in if you need me. Let me know. And he was asking them, I think, to sign him to their practice squad to give him an opportunity. So somehow the rapper J. Cole finds out about this because maybe they're buddies. I don't know. And then he asks Colin Kaepernick, hey, man, I think I'm going to put that letter out there if you're cool with it. Well, I don't know. I don't want anybody to know about it. That's not why I did it. No, man, I think it'll be good because people will know that you're still out there. People will know that you're still working hard and all that. So because of the rapper J. Cole posting it on social media, that's how we found out Colin Kaepernick sent the Jets a letter saying, sign me to the practice squad.
That's the only letter we found out about, Chad. Maybe there have been hundreds sent over the past few years. If he's sending letters.
Holy hell. That is unbelievable. So I have lived as not only a Cowboys fan, but as a Bucs fan. I've lived the best version of this story. The Jets are living the worst version. The Bucs got Tom Brady, the actual guy. He put the uniform on and it worked. Mm-hmm. Really worked. They won the Super Bowl and beat Mahomes. Worked. But now the Jets are watching this version of it. It's absolutely wretched. I feel bad for them. I was pumped after Hard Knocks, and now we've all gotten just a complete crap sandwich on this thing, and we don't get to see it. It just sucks.
Hey, side note, do you think Rodgers is done? Do you think he comes back, tries it again?
I do. Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah. I think he's got a little bit left. Just like I don't think Nick Chubb's done. I think Nick Chubb will give it a shot.
Yeah.
There's too much good medicine out there right now. Too much good medicine, too much good orthopedics.
Ayahuasca and Rogue Shop.
All that, plus just all the rehab stuff and how quickly people can come back. I mean, my God, I was half expecting Cam Rising to come back at the beginning of this year off of an ACL in a bowl game.
Yeah.
And we were all like, no, he can do it. He can pull that off. And he may be about to come back here in the next couple of weeks. So that emotion is going on in New York. We also have one other emotional story to update you on, and it is Lou Holtz versus Ryan Day. That's right. Lou Holtz apparently, let me see, I got to make sure I get all my quotes right in this story. So he goes on the McAfee show before the game last week, and Lou Holtz says that Ohio State had not been physical enough to beat premier opponents, citing the Michigan loss and then the CFP losses with Georgia, Bama, and Clemson. You probably heard Ryan Day flip out a little bit on Lou Holtz after the game. I had to stand up for my guys. We normally don't pay attention to it, but we just couldn't ignore it and blah, blah, blah. But speaking this week on the Dan Dakich show, Lou Holtz backed up what he said, but also admitted that he needed to apologize to Coach Freeman, not Coach Day, Coach Freeman. Here's Lou Holtz's quote. I don't feel bad about saying it because I believed it. Notre Dame is a better football team. 3 times, Ohio State had 4th and 1, ran the ball, couldn't make it. If I was coaching, I would have said, I would have went for our team. I would have said, I think you're better. I think you're more physical. I think you're more talented. But when I say something and I think I can control the outcome of the game, that's unfair to Coach Freeman. So he felt the need to apologize to Coach Freeman, but he has not backed down on the Coach Day thing. By the way, Lou Holtz is now 86 years old. He goes on to say, quote, he doesn't want to talk about losing to Michigan, 0-2. He doesn't want to talk about the big games coming up against Penn State, against Michigan again. He's a great coach, done a tremendous job. He's a great offensive mind. Ohio State's a good football team. I don't think they're a great football team. He can go after me all he wants. Translation, you can get something if you want, Ryan Day. You can. With your cheeks all rosy and up like you're some kind of rag doll. You think I can't hang at 86? Come on. I'd have whooped Jimmy Johnson's ass back then. I'll whoop your ass now. You got a problem? Yeah, that's what's going on right now.
Man, I love this version of Lou Holtz that's just sitting here at 86 roasting everybody. Like
86, man. I love that he the thing I love is I love that he stuck with it because we finally got to that moment. I want everybody to understand where we are in life because this I didn't think it would happen. Lou Holtz, through his whole career, when he would rip on people, he ripped them behind the scenes. The famous thing where they caught him before Colorado, the big Colorado game, and they zoomed in, and they're going to quit, they're going to give up, they're not physical enough, we're going to destroy them. And the thing about save Jimmy Johnson for me, that was in the locker room, and I don't know if he knew he was being videoed. But Lou Holtz, to the media, was always complimentary of everybody they played. Lost his mind being complimentary to everybody they put. I got to say, I think Navy might be this week. Navy might be this. There's an amazing team on 3rd down. I've been looking at the film. I'm not sure it was that good. He was the classic example of rip his team down on Monday, but by Saturday, he makes them think they can run through a wall. So it was all part of his psychology. But the fact that he did this at 86, and then when somebody pushed him on it, it's like, hey, coach, Ryan Day got all pissed off. Oh, did he? Really? I just don't think they're a physical team. He still says he thinks Notre Dame is better than Ohio State. He watched the game and thinks Ohio State is not as good as Notre Dame right now. So, coach,
well, we know Ohio State is better than Notre Dame when they have 10 men on the field for sure.
Yes, right. That is still bad. And by the way, the Marcus Freeman, the remedy to that was interesting. Did you hear their plan on how they're going to get rid of it?
No.
They've now installed a signal that if somebody realizes there's 10 on the field, they just instructed one of the offensive players to jump out and hit a defensive player to get a penalty. And it's like, well, no, just don't have 10 guys.
What do you mean?
What are you talking about? I first saw this. People have seen it at football games. They do it everywhere. High school teams do this. Teams lay out the little map with 11 dots on it. They lay out some kind of sheet of whatever it is, Teflon or garbage bag or whatever. I first saw it we went to Auburn a few years ago, and I'd never seen it. And it was just there on the field, like, oh, that's a good idea. Because if I'm on the team, I just run to my spot. And if a spot's empty, I have somebody checking all the spot. We're good, right? That's what you do. That is what you do. I couldn't believe that's the overall solution to it. Like, no, man, there's 8 levels of screw up there. Yeah. Go back through it, figure out how you screwed it up. By the time we realized it was too late. Who's we? Who's we? Define who we is. That's what you have to figure out. Man, I don't get it. All right, there you go. An emotional
very emotional crap back.
Also, speaking of emotions, let's give a shout out here in the baseball world. RIP to Brooks Robinson. one of the most famous baseball players to ever live, and one of the best third basemen that ever played the game. To many, he is the best third baseman. By the way, ironically, today is the birthday of another one of the greatest third basemen ever, Mike Schmidt. Is 74 today. I know one of Ketch's favorites, and he might tell me the best third baseman ever. If you don't know the old school, it's a good one. Mike Schmidt, where did he play college baseball and take a team to the World Series? Ohio. Not Ohio State, just Ohio, the Bobcats, green and white. That is Mike Schmidt. Plus, we mentioned earlier, it's Gwyneth Paltrow's birthday today. Happy 51 to her, and happy 41 to Lil Wayne, who just led Colorado into the field there at Folsom. And he is 41 years old today. So there is your crap bag for this Wednesday. We were originally, we were going to talk to Jason Suchel here at 2:20, but we talked to him earlier. So if you were thinking about that one, and we did, I think I was able to move the preview tweet, but if there was any confusion, go back to that first hour. Jason Suchel jumped in and talked recruiting. I get you a couple notes on what he said. But right now, Blake, can we give him a little bit of a break? Let's do a little bit of a, maybe a little, I'll take a little bit of a breath here, and don't just play like a minute of the yell leaders high-fiving on a bridge. Don't do that. Don't do that.
You don't want the war hymn?
We will do no war hymn. Please don't do anything Aggie related. I'll get totally ripped on for that. But we'll come back and we'll start digging into some numbers with Texas, Kansas. Tell you what Suchel said. Another visitor coming in for the weekend to join that group for the Kansas game. All that coming up. It is House Divided on Orange Bloods Live.
Last week, if I pull up my sheet, some of the things that we kind of touched on were Zach Wilson is who we thought he was. 3 interceptions. Bounces back this week. 50% completion percentage. Loses to the New England Patriots with opportunity. Sam Laporta, big game potentially coming. He hits that big game, scores 22 fantasy points in this one. Jalen Hyatt's role must expand if the Giants are going to win. Jalen Hyatt's role did diminish. He did nothing on Thursday Night Football against the Niners, and they got walked like a dog. The reason Zach Charbonnet was not playing is because he's not as good as Ken Walker, and Ken Walker's in his element. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. And Justin Fields is gonzo in Chicago. That was on Monday. For those of you that tuned in and watched live on Monday, I said Justin Fields is done. And then all hell broke loose on Tuesday with a press conference of him calling out his coach. On Wednesday with him fixing that and saying, oh, no, it was me. Always blame me. Always blame me. Well, we're blaming you. We're blaming you, Justin. That's what we're doing. We love you for fantasy football when you're competent, but you haven't been competent. For NFL, you have not progressed one bit. And everyone wants to say, well, the coaches around him could really help him progress. It takes work to progress. There's a reason Johnny Manziel never progressed. Johnny Manziel didn't work. Johnny Manziel didn't put in the effort to progress in the NFL to make it work. He also had a bunch of other stuff going on against himself. Now, maybe Justin Fields is fantastic off the field, the polar opposite of Johnny Manziel. But what it shows us on the field is that he's not putting in that true work. He's not putting in the things we're hearing from Anthony Richardson, right? The 8 hours a day in the film study. But Anthony Richardson has progressed further in 6 months than Justin Fields has in 3 years. Put that together. Doesn't make sense.
And we're back.
There we go.
The great Cody Carpentier of Roster Watch with some thoughts.
How about that? I hadn't seen that kind of a break yet. There's all kinds of breaks going on at Orange Bloods Live. We got grilling.
You never know what you're going to get with these breaks.
Grilling
it's like a box of chocolates.
Roster breaks. It's just like the NFL Sunday Ticket. I've been checking that out this season. They give you moments of zen sometimes during
those
breaks.
Are fantastic.
Have you seen that? With just like animals.
I almost want to some games, I'm just sitting there and they're playing the moment of zen. And I'm like, I wish this was just 3 hours long.
Slow-mo hummingbird, a manatee swims by, whales. There's been all kinds of things. It's crazy. How about this? Sandman didn't even pay attention to a word he said. Well, then it didn't work, did it? It didn't even work. And why? Why, Sandman? Same thing. Yeah. No, wait, hold up. Sandman. Wait, where'd it go? Where did they say? Hang on. Hang on. Where'd it go?
Can't stop looking at the poster.
Can't stop looking at the poster. That incredible roaring like lion or whatever. Did you see that thing? That was amazing. That was fantastic. All right. So as we roll through the 2 o'clock hour, back to I can't leave it. I can't leave it, Blake. Let's go back to it 1 second. The Anoir mind teaser. Gary says the correct answer is 200. Let's walk through it. The store lost the original $100. Then they lost 70 in merchandise because it was bought with their money, and then they lost $30 change. Now, see, I can't go that far. You can't lose the money twice.
They got the money back.
It starts as $100, right? Starts as $100. Then he buys the $70 worth of stuff. If he leaves with that stuff, then they're losing $70 worth of stuff. Okay? And then he leaves with the $30 of change. So money, they lose the $30. And then they lost the $70, however you want to look at it. They either lost $70 in stuff or $70 in money. But they didn't lose both. It's one or the other. So ultimately, they still lost the $100 of money.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the original $100 bill is back in the register. They did not lose that. They got it back when he paid for the merchandise.
That's correct. But they're still, but they're
And there's
down
$100
70.
total left.
Right,
The
but they're
70
down
and 30.
70 on the close and 30 on the thing. There you go. I enjoy it.
Excellent.
That was fantastic. All right, let's get one that's more football oriented here. Dawn jumping in. Buy or sell. The Big 12 knew about how Texas felt about the loss to Kansas, so they put this game before OU to get us up, only to get down for the OU game. What now? Huh? Okay.
No.
Dawn, there's only one part of that makes sell, because there's no way the end of what you said makes sense. Down for the OU game? Is that like, I'm assuming, are you not a Longhorn? Are you a Texas fan? Down for the OU game? How is that possible?
Texas could be 0-4 right now, and Texas would be up for the OU game.
Down for the OU game. There are less OU games. There are greater OU games. I get that. I don't know if they've ever I guess I kind of get what you're saying, but I don't know that I don't know if it was constructed that way. I honestly don't know.
Texas is not so worried about Kansas that they're not not worrying about Oklahoma next week. Like it all can exist.
Yeah, I get that. I get the notion of are they looking past Kansas to OU? I totally get that idea.
Yeah.
But the notion that you would really get pumped up for Kansas. Now, here's the discussion to me is if I'm a Texas fan, I'm always concerned about how they structure the schedule for my team and OU leading into the game. So what they've done that I like is there's a road game, and then it's home for OU this week. Is that right? Do I have that right? It's Iowa State at OU? Yes. So it's a home game against Iowa State. They at least threw a roadie in a couple weeks, 2 weeks before. What I don't like about it, though, is I feel like the competition level is better for Texas going in. So on one hand, it's like, will Texas be more worn out? But then again, you could also say, is Texas more game tested? Has Texas been will they be a little sharper because they've played Bama and beaten them and would have played Kansas? That's the argument I'll go with as a Texas fan. I'll lean that way because to me, you want reps going into OU. I've never, ever bought into this football coaches jargon garbage of, they're saving some stuff for OU.
Yeah.
Don't you? Oh, they're saving. Oh, they are saving. So many years I've listened to Longhorn fans talking about what they're saving. And we get to the end of the OU game and realize, guess they weren't saving it, were they? I guess not. You need to show what you got, period. And they'll need to show it to beat Kansas this
So many
week.
of these things I think are just narratives that don't exist in reality. It's just things the fan base worries about. They're going to get up for this game and then not perform for this. Like the coaching staff and the players are going to be ready. I don't concern myself with that.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. Thank you for all the chats coming in on the Specs chat line today.
Chad just likes to say OU.
See, that's just well done.
Also, Sark tuning in. I don't know if you saw this. Sark was on Football with Friends the other day as well, chatting.
How about that? We appreciate all you guys in the office. Second time tuning in on Orange Blood's big week. Stay positive, Sark. There we go. Look at that. Steve Sarkisian jumping in. That's exciting. Thank you, Sark. Good to hear from you. And probably not giving us the double bird because that's not classy. You don't do that. That's conduct unbecoming. You don't want those things. And here's a chatter agreeing with me. Texas will be more battle ready. There you go, Sandman. Well done. And Sandman not making a sheep joke towards me, actually just sending a regular chat. That is well done. Let's see. What is this here? South End Zone Queen. Buy or sell. The Aggie Yell prep rally thing even makes Chad cringe.
That's a great question.
At times, it's a buy. At times, South End Zone Queen, it is a buy. Yes. It's like sometimes what a yell practice is, and especially the Friday night yell, midnight yell. Sometimes midnight yell for me is like when you watch like an old vaudeville act, like old school vaudeville, and you listen to the delivery and you listen to the jokes, and you're like, oh, did that just no? So sometimes when one of those moments goes viral and somebody hits me up and goes, Chad, can you believe this was said at midnight yell? Most of the time, my first reaction inside is, yeah, I actually can. And then I go, okay, now let's get to like how you processed it, because you're not used to listening to that kind of stuff over and over again.
Yeah, the truth is, anytime it gets out of that night, if it gets into the media, into social media, it's cringe.
It looks weird. Yeah, right.
Outside of the AIM universe.
I get it. And by the way, this one does always have a chance to get out this coming Friday night at midnight because they're going to be in Arlington. So remember, there's a midnight yell everywhere. They do midnight yell at every single road, neutral, game, whatever. And they pick a spot. They let you know where it's going to be, and you show up. It was at the Capitol steps in Austin. I'm sure that's where it'll be again in a couple of years. And then they do it wherever. Right? You find a downtown area, you find a bar, you find a whatever. And that's what they're going to do. I don't know where they go in Arlington, but somewhere in Arlington, that'll happen Friday night, which means Dallas media could be around and it could go viral.
Oh, yeah. It's going viral.
Yeah. So to the head yell leader, you might want to watch your language and your content when it comes up. Like the year, one of the ironic ones, do you remember the year they got ripped on for making fun of Jopa?
Oh, did they?
Do you remember that?
One.
So the year that Penn State played A&M in the Alamo Bowl and drilled them. They beat them with LeVar Arrington.
Okay, yeah.
And that crew, Brandon Short, LeVar Arrington. I think the final score was it was like either 21-0 or 28-0. It felt like 56-0. I mean, they stepped on A&M that day. But the Aggie yell leaders, they did yell practice down on the Riverwalk, and they started making fun of how old Jopa was at the time.
Oh, no.
And it was this weird set of jokes about the old school stuff. And so this is before the Penn State scandal. It's before. So now looking back at it, it's a little different. But then they got made fun of. They were ripped on for making fun of an old man. that was the thing. I will never forget that. All right. Let's see. Before we get out of here, or before we continue and talk some Texas, Kansas, rather, Oscar with a $4.99 super chat. Moments like this are why I'll always like Chad, no matter his university affiliation. Thank you, Oscar. I appreciate that. And this is Sandman. Chad, you're a good Aggie. Props to you, good sir. I just try to talk about it realistically. And that's one reason a lot of Aggies don't like me. And it is a reason why I've been accepted in this community. And by the way, we're almost 2 months into the Orange Bloods live thing with me and with House Divided. And thank you guys for welcoming me in and allowing me to be a part of it. I just try to tell it like I see it. That is not the Aggie way, but it's this Aggie's way. That's how I do it. I just look at it and interpret it, and I tell you what I think. And just like Blake did earlier when he said, man, when Max Johnson threw that ball to Evan Stewart, that was impressive. Yeah, it was. He threw it, 40 yards?
That was a dime. That was a
40, 45 into double coverage. I still can't believe he let the ball go, and he nailed it. Just like I'll tell you whatever Texas does that's impressive to me is impressive to me. That's how I've always done it. So I appreciate those comments. One other quick chat here. Sandman, Chad, if you didn't go to A&M, where would you go?
Ooh.
Interesting. because of uniforms and stuff growing up, I always thought Florida State would be interesting. Like I did consider that briefly, but a little too far away. I was a little bit of a, small town, mama's boy, stay closer to home kind of guy. I wanted to be a drive away. That was one of the big things. So, that was one out of state that I considered. And I think I could have found a way to fit in at UT. It just would have taken a while because the city was too big for me. It felt so big compared to what I had dealt with. And that part freaked me out. I did it the right way for me, which was I went to A&M. Then eventually I lived in Austin, kind of fell in love with it later. I fell in love with it as I was in school, but I could go get away from it because with all the distractions, that helped me out. So that's probably it. And I always like this one. I need to know if you're going to do this. I need to know who's on top.
First.
Says you're my second favorite Aggie. I've had people tell me that Robert Earl Keen is their favorite Aggie, and I'm too.
Okay.
So who am I silver medal to? Let me know.
Have you ever been called this?
Who's the gold medal? That's what
you
I
ever been called this term here? Waxahachie?
The Waxahachie. Christopher, I have never heard the Waxahachie idea. That is so bizarre. Okay. All right. This is fair. Sandman says favorite Aggie. Reveille. All right. Fair. That's fair. And I know Anwar said he didn't understand it. Look, we're dog people. We are. It's one of the reasons the Aggies, I think, fit in the SEC. Dog people. They do have a little bit too much love for that dog, but come on. We all have that. Dog owners go crazy about their dogs. And Reveille does get, ipso facto 4-star general status. But in case you're uncomfortable about that, I don't really think they let her make any choices. I really don't. I think she's a 4-star general only in name, not in actuality. They do not bring that dog into any major meeting and let her make a choice. I don't think that happens. I don't think that happens at all. All right. So we're getting ready for Texas and Kansas, of course, Saturday afternoon. And a lot of different stuff's been on the board today. Kind of predictions from Texas fans of how good that they think this team can be and how far they can go. I thought and again, Ketch will be back tomorrow. We got Brian Jones at 1:20 tomorrow. We've got voice of the Jayhawks, Brian Haney, tomorrow at 2:20. I thought I'd look at some of these numbers. We went through a little bit of this yesterday in the crap bag, where I mentioned that when Kansas has the ball and tries to run, neither team really knows what they've got. Neither really does. They're both top 20, supposedly, in rush defense.
Let me pull up some stats for you, Chad. I just wanted to put these up here while you're talking so people can see the comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you see that rush offense at 12 for Kansas, and then if you go rush defense down there for Texas at 18th, we'll find out how real that is. Because like I pointed out yesterday, the rush defenses Kansas have faced are terrible. 118 in FCS, 108, 115, 64. Texas has faced some rush offenses that are 124, 62, 48, and 84. So we're really going to find out kind of what that means. But here's some other numbers to consider. Like I mentioned, sometimes I go 10-100 on these teams. Top 10 things that Texas does. Found a couple. Net punting, they're number 4. I know that's boring, but Sanborn's been really good for Texas. 44.6 yards. Red zone defense. Here's another great one. 2. Number 2 in the country, red zone defense for Texas. That could be important.
Did you see Kansas's red zone offense?
Yes.
Ranked 11th.
Yeah. And that's one of theirs I think that is big. So that matchup. We really get to find out kind of what happens. So kind of that fringe top 10. In terms of what Kansas does well, I actually found more of them. 5 things that they do top 10. And then there's a fringe one for me too. Defensive touchdowns, 3 in the country. They've had a couple of them. Completion percentage, 6th in the country. They're at 76% throwing the ball. Say what you will about their opponent. That's the number right now. Interceptions. On offense, they're 9th in the country, staying real clean, not throwing picks. Punt return defense, 7th in the country. Tackles for loss, 8th in the country. And fringe, time of possession is 11th. I only bring it up because, A, it's me, and I do occasionally care about time of possession. I think this is a game where time of possession really could matter. Wyoming was not going to time of possession Texas enough. They got 39 minutes of it, and it didn't matter by the end. but Kansas wants to do that. They're at 33 minutes of time of possession. I think Texas can live in that area, but don't let it be 34, 35, 36 or higher. I think that could be part of the cocktail you don't want. That's part of the losing cocktail to me for Texas. So keep that in mind. Here's another interesting matchup when we talk about 100 or worse. Pay attention when Texas returns a kick in this game, a kickoff. Now, this stat could be because Texas hasn't received a lot of kickoffs because they're doing well and they're winning. I admit that. Texas is 105th in kickoff return, 13th in the Big 12. Again, you hope that that's just because they're kicking ass and they're kicking off a lot, but they're not receiving a lot of kicks. That's what you'll hope. Kansas, kick return defense, 113.
Oh, wow.
113. Giving up 24.3 when they are defending a kick return. So pay attention when Kansas kicks to Texas on that one. Also, how about red zone defense for Kansas? Remember how I told you Texas was red zone defense number 2 in the country? You know what Kansas is? 120. 120. So
and they're tied at that, Chad, because they have let the team score a touchdown on every possession, it looks like. They're a 1.0.
See? And that's terrible. So no matter what we think, Blake, about their opponents, and we can talk about that. Hey, Chad, they play Missouri State and Illinois and Nevada and BYU. And what Blake is telling you there and what the numbers are telling us there, all of them scored a touchdown every time.
Not a single red zone stop.
Every time. Now, red zone defense is just about scoring, right? That means they give up points. It could be a field goal, right? But they give up points every single time. Just something to keep in mind as we head into this game and look at the numbers. Some of the other numbers, I want to know if they're real. Kansas, 21 in total defense. Just don't know. I don't know. Again, that rush defense is supposed to be 25th. I don't know. How about Texas? 24th in total defense. Are they really that good? We're going to find out. Let's be honest with ourselves. They have not faced a badass offense. They haven't. They have not faced a badass quarterback yet. Milroe could be, I think can be really good at times, but I thought the scheme was bad around him and he didn't play well. They have not played a quarterback that was clicking, that was on. The most on quarterback they faced, I think, is that Swoboda kid from Wyoming, who had a couple of moments where, a couple drives where you thought, okay, he's finding a little rhythm. Sawyer Robertson hit that big over-the-top throw on the right side against Texas for Baylor. Then that was a big throw. He didn't have a great game. So we're really going to find out what this Texas team is all about this week. And again, if you're a Texas fan, I like the way it plays out for you over this next couple weeks. Oklahoma has a chance to kind of sleepwalk this week. Home game, Iowa State. What's Campbell really got? Nobody's sure. Texas can't sleepwalk. They can't. Hell, 2 years ago, they beat you here. You know that part. They're really good. Their quarterback is preseason offensive player of the year. Like, it all stacks up for Texas to be paying attention and have focus. It's not an 11 a.m. kick. It's 2:30. Oh, by the way, you get to drag those guys in blue down to your humidity and your heat and your nastiness in terms of weather. But you're ready because you went to Tuscaloosa and you look like you were in better shape than Alabama. I'd love it if I'm a Texas fan. Love this. I love it. You have every right to be confident right now. Enjoy it. Soak it up. You're 4-0. How many times are you 4-0? You haven't been that in a while. What's the stat I looked up? Last time Texas was undefeated going to the Oklahoma game was 2011. The last time they were 5-0 before the Oklahoma game is 2009.
Oof.
It's been a while.
Over a decade.
Think about what I just said. The last time, however you want to look at it, either the last time Texas was undefeated, getting ready to play OU, or the last time they were 5-0, getting ready to play OU, you still had the Aggies on your schedule. There you go. That's how long it's been. 2011 or 2009. Enjoy every bit of it. Here's the thing I'm going to tell you, Texas fans. that they don't tell you enough, because y'all listen to a bunch of people all the time that are ingrained in it, right? They're either Texas people or they've learned about how they're covering this elite program and this blue blood thing and all that. I have a different perspective because A, I'm third party, but B, I am, I'm at the other side of this rivalry, but I'm not at the disrespectful side. I respect both parts of it. And I'm also trained as a little brother. I'm an actual little brother. I don't mind the little brother vibe when it comes to the rivalry because that's what it is. Historically, the brands, the national titles, it's an absolute truth. I have no problem admitting that. The thing Texas fans have a tough time with is what we all have trouble with Cowboy fans. What we talked about earlier, being Cowboys fans. You can't enjoy it. There's something, you're not allowed to enjoy it as it's happening. How many of you got to the end of that 05 season and what you felt was a release of nerves instead of just, oh my God, that was the happiest run of my life? I hope it was, because that was a damn good run and a damn good football team. Lean into it. Enjoy it. You might lose a game. I don't know. You might lose 3. But right now it looks pretty damn good. Enjoy it. Don't let them tell you how you're supposed to feel. Don't let them put expectations on you one way or the other. Just enjoy it. Soak it up. And let's see how they play. 4-0 Texas getting ready to play 4-0 Kansas. And it's a good test. Really good test going into.
You know what stat actually concerns me the most on this whole chart here, Chad? Third down conversion percentage. Do you see that number next to Kansas?
Third down conversion percentage.
At the top of the right column, it's 60%. They're ranked first in the country.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I hadn't seen that one. That's bad. Yeah, it's really, really good. I mean, I had not jotted that one down. Good call. Good catch. I did not see that. Wow. Third down first in the country?
They're converting third down 60% of the time.
Good grief. How did I miss that one? The Aggie eyeballs didn't see that one for some reason. No, that's big. And obviously, I mean, it's a huge number anyway, big number to watch. And, the last couple games at home, we've seen Texas get a little sluggish in that category themselves, where they weren't moving the ball as efficiently as you wanted them to early on. So we'll see what they look like in this game. But that is interesting. We'll continue to look at numbers as we go through this week. Also want to remind you, it is Wednesday, so there is an Outsiders coming up tonight at 9:00.
A big one.
Yeah, check this one out. Now, Chance Mock decided if he was going into the Rolodex, been a lot of talk about JT Sanders and what he's doing, so he thought he'd reach out to one of his favorite tight ends. And Bo Scaife is going to join us at 9:15 tonight to talk about Texas and Sanders and the tight end position. We'll be talking about some of our favorite tight ends tonight as well. So jump on in. It's obviously an important position for Texas. Steve Sarkisian had talked about it being a big deal, and it feels like he absolutely means it when it comes to Sanders. At times at Alabama, I didn't know if I believed him because sometimes they didn't quite dial that up, as much. He probably did it more than Kiffin did, but not a ton. Really feels like they're leaning in on Sanders' talent, though. So we'll get into that tonight at 9:15. And coming up at 3:30, Football with Friends with Alex Dunlap, the kebab man himself. You might see Grilling with Alex again. If you haven't seen it, he's giving you lessons this week on how to get.
Today, Alex tells you the truth about the Texas offensive line with detailed grades.
Hey, you know what? If there's one man who'll give you truth on offensive line, it's him. I've loved listening to his breakdowns of offensive line through the years. Years ago, when I was on radio, we'd bring Alex on just for that every week. Just tell us the truth about the O-line. By the way, ZOV, Chad, you killed the show today. Great job. Again, tell Ketch to take care of the rest of the week off. Now leave them sheep alone. You know what? Altogether, that was a compliment, caring about Ketch, and then a sheep joke at the end. Well done. Well done.
We just say, you are an Aggie leading a show on Orange Woods Live, basically solo. You're the lead host on this show for 3 hours, and we got over 250 people watching, man.
There we go.
The people
there
love
we go. See? It can be done. It's the kooky idea that I had in my head when the radio thing stopped. And and I had this idea, and my wife looked at me like, really? Are you sure? And she's like, I love you. Whatever you need. And before I could call to make the argument, the guy I was thinking of called me up and he goes, hey, I got an idea. And he starts talking. I'm like, yo, there you go. There it is. And I told him we should probably have a segment of the show that we call like House Divided, so we could talk about all that stuff. And they're about to get back together. And he goes, why don't we call the whole show that? I'm like, oh, the whole show. I could do that. So I appreciate all of you again for welcoming me in. I thank the two guys I had on as a guest today, Anoir Richardson and Jason Suchel. I've had them on as guests for years in radio and loved working with those guys and interviewing them. And, and they, I'm sure they had some, maybe a weird thought or two about, is this really should really like the guy, but come on. So I appreciate them being welcoming to me as well. Obviously, thanks to Blake, the super producer, for helping me out today also. So we will wrap it up. Football with Friends is coming up. And again, remember, tomorrow, Brian Jones 120, Brian Haney. It's the Double Brian show. Brian Jones at 120, Brian Haney, the voice of the Kansas Jayhawks, at 220. Let's get some truth from him. He's a really nice guy, matter-of-fact dude. He'll tell it like he sees it. And we'll see if he thinks Kansas can come get this done. And we'll get his thoughts on Daniels and the offense and that defense and all that good stuff. So thank you for being a part of it today. Again, the Specs chat is there for you. Specs, wine, spirits, finer foods, specsonline.com. They can send the stuff to you. They can deliver the stuff to you if you are all fresh out of beer, vodka, whiskey, whatever it is that you're looking for. They've got it. You can get the app on your phone, scroll through, just like Blake showed you earlier. He's got it on his phone. I got it on mine. Get it on your phone today as well. Thanks to everybody for jumping in today on the chat. We'll be back for a Thursday version tomorrow. So until 12 p.m. tomorrow, Ketch, we hope everything's good today after your day off, brother. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow.